RC Airplane. We'll share tips and tricks on how to build models and talk about successful flights, epic crashes, and everything in between.
Welcome back to the Aviation RC Noob podcast. You found us. My name is Joe.
And I'm Matt.
Visit us at rcplanelab.com to sign up for our email list and to ask us questions. You can also text us or leave us a voicemail at 818-351-9846. Please help us out by rating and reviewing us in your favorite podcast app.
We're here to be with you along your journey and to share our experiences in RC aviation. If you have any questions, thoughts, or want to share a flight story, hit us up at aviationrcnoob@gmail.com. Now, buckle in. Let's take off.
Thanks for spending time with us today. Now here are your hosts, Ron and Tom.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aviation RC Plane Noob Lab podcast.
That's a mouthful. It is a mouthful.
I mean, right? Well, hi, guys. How are you doing? We have Matt and Joe on from the Aviation RC Noob podcast.
And you have Tom and Ron on from the RC Plane Lab podcast.
I was going to let them say that.
Oh, that would have been ideal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'll do it real quick. Welcome to the Aviation RC Noob podcast / RC Plane Lab crossover episode. How's that?
That sounds great.
All right, episode 51 for the Aviation RC Noobs, and it is episode, 101?
No, we'll be 102 at this point.
102. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations, guys, on making it past 100. That's a big milestone.
Well,
Thank
so was
you.
50. You guys are doing great, too.
One. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, and I think it's actually even appropriate for, I think we put it out typically every 2 weeks, and you guys, I don't know how you manage every week, really.
I don't
know how Ron does it either.
If I had a hat, I'd be tipping it to you right now.
We are taking July off.
Well, here's the thing. So, because you guys publish every couple of weeks, your episodes are typically a little bit longer than ours.
A lot longer.
So I feel like your 50 episodes are probably equivalent time-wise to our 100
minutes.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I think they're about right because we're around 2 hours with one exception, maybe two, and yours are almost straight on an hour, plus or minus, depending on if you're talking to somebody or just,
Yeah, and I have no idea how that happens because that is not planned. That's just
absolutely not.
We come to sit down to record, and that's where we end up getting bored, I guess.
Probably because we have about an hour's worth of patience with each other, and that's.
I don't know if I'd say that.
I'm just teasing.
It's a lot less than an hour.
Well, we always think, this thing, we're going to start this. This is going to be done in a half hour. We're going to be like, and then sure enough, we start talking about this or that. And by an hour and a half later, we're like, oh no, we need to wrap this up. We're going to hit way over our mark here.
Yeah. And then at the 4 hour mark, you're like, all right, seriously, it's time to end this.
I'm not editing 2 hours out. Okay.
So before we get too much into talking to each other about stuff, I want to know,
Sure.
How did you guys come up with starting a podcast and why?
Well,
Okay.
I'm going to let Matthew talk about that one.
Yeah, this was, I don't know about my brainchild, but it was something I had rolling around in my head. I'd listened to, because I'm thinking about it. I don't have their names in front of me, but it's, Mike, the Flight Test Community Cast. I was listening to those guys, and what ended up turning into the FT After Hours or the After Hour podcast, RC After Hours is with Andre, but it was with a bunch of other guys in the beginning, and it was FT After Hours. So I used to listen to those guys every week, and I try to devour as much, like anybody new in the hobby. And I remember just without listening to those guys while I was mowing my lawn or whatever it was, I don't think I would have stuck in the hobby. I mean, I was pushing planes into the ground as hard as I could, as fast as I could. And some of them were not recoverable. I mean, I had a bloody bearing that went up about 100 feet and went straight down 100 feet, and the battery started to catch on fire, started smoldering, and I threw it out in the parking lot. You're like, oh, gosh. But without listening to them talk about how they were cutting down the wrong tree in like a forest. I came back the next day and cut down the right tree after climbing the one next to it by accident.
Oops.
And that kind of, they had those kind of stories. I'm like,
Like trying to find a plane they lost, you mean?
Yeah, they lost it in a tree, and they're like, and they were climbing it in the dark. And then they realized they climbed the wrong one. So they went back the next day with a saw, and they sawed something down, and they thought it was the one with the tree, with the plane in it, and it wasn't. Anyway, it's worth listening to their podcast because they always have, in the beginning, they had a bunch of amazing stories. It was good to listen to. What it was it kept me in the hobby. And I kept thinking, and then I started noticing, like, they were all saying, I'm done. I don't have any more content. I'm out. And of course, now 50 episodes, or in your case, it's 100 episodes plus in, I'm looking at it going like, hey, I understand that now. So it's pretty hard to pick up some content. But I said, but at the same point, like, it was them talking about the nonsense that they got into and them just laughing about the ridiculous stuff that they tried and that they knew they should have done and they did anyway. So that was one aspect that I wanted to keep going. Right? Because when you're new in the hobby, and that's what our podcast is aimed for, it's really easy to kind of lose faith and lose hope that you're even thinking about doing it right, especially if you're by yourself.
Yeah.
So listening to other people kind of go through their trials and tribulations kind of helps you get back into it. There's a lot of times I had put down the hobby knife and I was done, only to have like a couple episodes later, I'd be like, all right, I got to go try it again. That sounds like fun. I forgot.
Yeah, I can see
And I
that.
kept
Like,
in it.
it's a good thing to kind of keep you going if you lose the drive.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I get
Yeah,
that.
definitely. So coupled with that, Joe had just got into it, and I was like, one of the things I wanted to do was get a couple, get some feedback on people getting into the hobby and listening to like what kind of nobody told me it was this, because there's always that,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's easy. You just, you balance it and you throw it in the air and it flies great.
Right.
Look. And then, the old timers do it without thinking. But what they're not telling you is like the 4 or 5 steps they inherently do and don't even communicate that. So when you're new, you're going like, I'm doing it wrong. Like, I don't know how am I missing this? They make it look so easy, that kind of stuff. And I wanted to hear, have somebody who is newer to be there to kind of ask the questions and to kind of help suss out those little nuances that get lost by the experienced flyer.
Yeah, somebody new to the hobby like Lori, for example.
Lori would be a perfect candidate.
Yeah, taking a little
Absolutely.
different route into it, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And Joe has been an excellent candidate for that too. And so as he just got started, I'm like, hey, you want to start a podcast? And he's like, I don't know. So I said, it'll be great. And I gave him the Cub Sprout speech. It's like a half hour a week, I swear. That's all we do every week.
Sorry. We both cracked.
And
jokes
honestly-
because, yeah.
That's exactly what I said too. You know what? We can record once a month. We'll have them all knocked out in
yeah.
a day.
That's
I
it.
remember that
It'll be great.
conversation.
It'll be like an hour. We'll record a bunch. It'll be sweet. And honestly, I really thought it would be a half hour or maybe 45 minutes.
Me too.
Because I was thinking, I'm listening to like there's a heli podcast where it sounds like they just turn on the mics, they shoot the stuff for an hour, and then they turn it off. They throw like a couple like really bad bloopers near the end, and then that's it. They publish. And it doesn't seem like they spend any time doing any editing.
Well, that means they're either really good at recording or really good at editing, and you don't know where the edits are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, right. And I don't, I'm not really sure if I think it's genuinely straightforward, but there's a lot of pre and post conversation that gets put towards bloopers. I think is how they do it. So for the most part, they just they leave the ugly stuff in for the most part. I mean, they really rarely kind of cut and go, okay, that was awful. Okay, we're back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Matt, why? That's the question I'm curious to
Okay.
get the answer for. Like why? Like
So
do you
why
have
bother going?
Yeah, like
to
why
all
go
this?
through all the trouble and like what is your if you had a mission statement, what would it be?
The mission statement, and I think even it's in our podcast, it's in our website. It's basically to keep the new aviationist in the hobby and give them a sense of community.
Yeah.
Somewhere to start.
I have to update the website now.
I'm just not. I'm not looking. What is our Joe? What does our website say?
It's more about to be
That was
with you
awesome.
along the journey.
Yeah. Just like what you guys say in your intro.
Yeah, it is. It's just to help the newcomer into the hobby and entertain those who have more experience. And tips, tricks, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Matthew's right because he did approach me about it being just a real short bit, not much time required, and same way you did, Ron, approaching Tom, and I think it was more me that crashed Matthew's view of
What
that.
the heck, man? He's like, I listened to it like 6 times already. And I'm like, what? You're supposed to like go through it once, chop out the really ugly stuff and just let it fly, man. And he's like, no.
Yeah. Nope. There's way too many edits and adjustments to be made. There's noise reduction to be done. There's EQing to be done. There's syncing up the tracks. And Matthew's like, I didn't sign up for this.
and that's the thing is I had no idea Joe was this involved with the audio in his other areas of life. I had no idea it was an audiophile. So it was like, whoa, I stumbled onto a gold mine / trash fire. I don't know. At the same time. It was great.
A bit of both.
It was fantastic. And honestly, I'm so happy. I feel like it helped even out the teamwork feeling that we had, which was
Yeah.
Well, what about you guys? Because Ron, you reached out to me like we were episode 2 or 3 in at that point, and y'all were looking to start up. What got y'all into it?
That's actually I don't know. I mean, like as much as I think back on it, like I don't know why I actually thought, hey, let's do a podcast, because that is so outside of my comfort zone for. I mean, I'm such an introvert to begin with. It's like if I saw somebody out in public I don't know, it's like, hold your head down and just kind of walk past them. You know, I don't want to talk to you. But anyway.
I don't know you. Don't talk to me.
Exactly. Right. So I was kind of like looking for different podcasts to listen to, and there really weren't a lot of, there weren't enough out there to fill the time that I needed filled on the hobby.
Right.
And, you know, I listened to a lot.
And they were going away at that point too, weren't they?
Yeah. Like there really were not a lot of ones that you could count on being there all the time.
It was a period of transition.
Yeah,
but there was some on the way out, and then some other newer ones like yours that Ron had started listening to.
Yeah, and so out of nowhere, I'm like, Tom, what do you think of starting a podcast? He's like, what's a podcast?
That's exactly true. Like I mean, I know kind of what a podcast, or then I kind of knew what a podcast was.
The gist.
I didn't listen to them. Certainly didn't download them and listen to them on my phone or on the devices in the house or whatever. So I thought, well, it sounds interesting. And the way you sold it to me, half hour here, half hour there. We'll produce an episode once a month, see how it goes. I'm like, yeah, I can commit to that. And here we are.
2 years
2 years later, and. Yeah.
2 years later.
Yeah.
And countless hours on your end of editing.
Yeah. I took the brunt of that. But anyway.
Absolutely.
So after we kind of thought, not a bad idea, let's kind of look into it. I emailed Joe and said, hey, you guys just started out. What do you think? Like, is it worth doing? Which, once again, that's completely out of, like, my character. I don't even know why I did that.
Yeah. And 2 episodes in, he's going to have all kinds of advice for you.
Exactly. I
know. Joe's response wasn't just run.
Yeah, it should have been.
No, he ghosted me for the longest time, actually, and never responded.
I did ghost you. It was.
He's like, dude, should we even respond to this? I'm like, Joe.
No. I knew I wanted to respond to him.
He just wasn't sure how. He wanted to make sure it was appropriate.
Yeah, no,
it was, and I'll blame work, but it really wasn't work. I just sat on it. And finally, no joke, I was down in Augusta, Georgia, and it had been a long day, and I finally just said, you know what, I got to reply to him. And that's when I banged out that semi-long, detailed email to you about my experiences with you, or with the podcast and how all that went. I was like, I'm so sorry for, being so late getting back with you and this, that. And then I think the next reply I got from you was like, yeah, dude, we're like 4 episodes in and I'm not having that bad a time with it.
I don't think that's how it was. I don't think it was like that at all. No, but I do remember we went back and forth with.
Yes. Emails are forever, buddy.
Yeah, they are. Well, so the way I remember it, and you're probably going to tell me differently, is that, we went back and forth a few times, and in one of the emails, you gave me your phone number, and you're like, if it's easier, call me, we can talk about it. I'm like, oh gosh, this is weird. What do I talk to the guy about? And then finally, we ended up talking about this for a while, and we've kind of kept in touch a lot since, and spent several multi-hour,
like long lost brothers.
yeah, several multi-hour conversations
from other mothers.
Since then. So
Man, our conversations have spanned all kinds of topics.
Makes me feel like Tom and I should be having conversations, which we haven't had or anything. But I'm just feels like, well, maybe we should have.
I don't know, maybe
show you what it's like.
Call him.
Well,
I know I will. No, it's I'm just kidding around. But I remember I think I replied. I'm like, hey, awesome! I'm glad you're listening. You should do it.
Yeah, I know. That was so in depth. I was like, okay, so Joe's the one I want to talk to because he.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. I wasn't sure quite how much. How much. I think I mentioned about roughly how much time we spent and kind of the effort, some of the surprises we'd run into and what we used. And it was just enough to kind of get your whistle wet, I guess. And I wasn't sure how deep you wanted to go. And I think you came back asking a lot more audio details. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Oh, crap. Yeah.
I don't know any of those things.
It's been 2 years ago. I don't remember how all that stuff started either.
Okay.
But
Joe's still pulling.
It was good.
Just as a little tidbit, I'll say this. It turns out I replied to you within 4 days.
See?
Yeah, that was a long time.
You're the one that ghosted me for a month on the reply.
Ron.
Well, at that point, it's not like we were friends or anything. I'm like, okay, well, what?
Well, it would have been nice to say, hey, I got your email. Thanks for the reply. I'll talk to you soon.
So that's funny because Ron just accused Joe of ghosting him, and it was actually the other way around. That's really interesting to me.
I told you I don't remember stuff from 2 years ago very well, so who knows how it actually went. Well, apparently we have the paper trail now. But anyway.
Emails are forever.
Yeah, I can forward it to you.
Hey, Joe's really good with that.
I'm sure I still have it in my files somewhere.
Go ahead and send it
in
to
our
him.
group, I'm the old fart, so I'm always like, oh, what's this email thing? I don't know what you're talking about.
Are you talking about me?
Oh, no, I'm talking about me.
Oh.
Tom, I'm saying I'm the old fart in our group.
Oh, and you're
And anytime it's like, oh, you just did the thing.
I'm
and
pretty
like,
sure on this episode, I'm the old fart.
I'm pretty sure in like anything that we've
you
ever
are by a
talked
little
to
bit.
anybody, you're the old fart. Any guest,
Oh my
any
God.
anything.
Ron, easy.
Well,
Tom. That's
no
your
offense,
buddy
Brian,
here.
but Brian is older than I am. So there.
But we have to be nice to our dealer. So I don't.
Now is Brian the
from
hobby shop guy?
Dynamic
Dynamic
Balsa.
Balsa guy, yeah.
That's right.
You
Okay,
guys,
yeah.
seriously, you guys need to make a trip to that hobby shop.
Yeah, if
Like
you're
if you're ever
ever
in Illinois, you owe it to yourselves to stop by that place.
it's
If you're not a fan of balsa before you walk into that place, you will be a fan of balsa when you leave that place. Just saying.
Okay, so for the listeners who are going, let me find out where this is. I need to go. What town in Illinois is it?
it's actually Northern Illinois in Leonore, Illinois.
Yeah.
Leonore.
Dynamic
Okay.
balsa.
So
It's like you would not think based on it's in the middle of nowhere.
It
I mean,
really
it really
is.
is. It's this small
best kind of
podunk town right across the street.
Well,
is
don't
actually
say podunk. I mean, they've
there's
got
like
a bar.
there's like 7 houses.
They have a big pavilion there. You know, they have a big park.
it's the
and
middle
stuff.
of Illinois.
Yeah.
well, it's a little higher than the middle of Illinois, but yeah,
Yeah,
you're
it's
right. It's a
north
little
of
north.
Bloomington.
You know what I'm saying? You know what? Look, there's like Chicago, and then there's
There it comes.
Oh,
Lincoln,
stop it.
right?
Well, no,
And then there's the rest.
yeah,
It's like Gilligan's Island.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, Illinois isn't
But
that bad.
it is the town
Okay,
is stashed
maybe
away in the cornfields in the northern central Illinois. It's north of Bloomington.
Yeah.
And like Ron says,
Yeah.
to see to drive through the place and to drive by the building, it's very unassuming. You wouldn't even know really if it weren't for I think there's a Traxxas sign
out front.
out
yeah.
front. You wouldn't even know that there was
Okay.
hobbies in this place. But as soon as you you get the door cracked open and you get just this like small view, it's like instant, like, whoa, this is something special.
This is worth going back every month for the last year and a half.
Right?
Take my money.
So that's what we're talking about, dynamic balsa.
Yeah.
That's so for the listeners that aren't aware, that's one of our favorite hideouts.
That's a weird thing too. Like I keep forgetting that there's people that are going to be listening
Yeah.
on your side that don't know kind of what
Right.
we do, and then people on our side that don't really know what you do.
Yeah.
So
Right. And that's part of the reason for the episode is we're about to crack into your world. I am at least. I think
Yes.
Joe's interested. And I'm eager and trepidatious only because it's a very different building style. The speed at which things get completed is maybe not totally different. It's different though.
It can be.
It's a different
Yeah.
process.
Yep.
And it's I'll call higher step process. You know, where it's like, oh, I just cut here, I pull things together, glue, make sure they're square, throw a wing on it, and off we go. Like that's what foam building is in my mind.
Yeah.
And I've also been doing it for some odd years, and we'll get to my number in a little bit, but it's pretty high. I shared it with Joe, and he's like, "Whoa, dang!" So
It's amazing how quickly they creep up on you.
Yeah.
yeah, well, when each plane is $5,
That's true.
and an afternoon,
That's true. Yeah.
and then I don't know. Look, I have a job where I do a lot of technical stuff, and during lunch, I don't know. There's not too many places to go that are terribly exciting. So I'm like, well, I got CAD. Oh, what's this plane look like? Ooh, I bet you I can make that.
Yeah.
Hold on. And then about two lunches or 3 lunches later, because I'm a adept at CAD, I've got a full plan set. And, the next week I'm throwing it together just to see how it comes together, like how my planning worked out. And then sometimes it's like, oh, let's get a motor in this.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
And off we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. And to see that kind of, when I work on things, they're the 1.5 to 2 year fruit of the labor. You know what I mean? So I'll come up with a design, and it will be 3 years later, 2 years later before I see the physical thing. So it's a long term.
Well, that's awfully slow for
return on
foam.
investment. Well, I'm talking about for what I do.
For what he does. Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I
I
was
get you now.
trying.
So
I
the
lost
foam
you.
building is a great juxtaposition
Yeah.
to that scale.
Yeah, sure.
So I can see what I dream up in my mind in a night.
Right.
Right.
It's fantastic.
That is cool.
Yeah. So it definitely scratches that itch for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Balsa's a little bit different. Yeah, it takes a little more time, but the end result is so much more rewarding. Like even if you don't design it yourself,
Don't say
I
more.
think.
You don't know if it's more rewarding. I would
To
think
me,
it's more
I'm sorry,
rewarding.
in my opinion.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
In defense of what I'm about to say, we have
You got to
Whoa
say
now.
it first.
we have never done what they do with foam.
We've never. Well, yeah, you kind of have. You designed the sandpiper.
I was told, by the way, by Joe, that's a profile foaming, and that doesn't count as a foam airplane.
It doesn't count.
Absolutely.
I mean, don't worry. It is a foam airplane, and it is a great way to get fun in the hobby and get started right away. It gives you the profile and the look, and you get to fly, and that's really all that's important
Yeah.
when it comes down to it. But as you get a little bit more advanced, like I'm doing things that the Taylor Aero car.
Yeah.
I'm familiar. Yep.
Yeah.
Like I've got a model that looks just like the Taylor Aero car.
Oh, okay.
It's like a bug. It's got the thing. It's got the wings. I literally pulled the livery from a historical document. I've got it going on mine, and it flies pretty well. I bent the axles on hard landing, so because they were made of toothpicks basically, or barbecue skewers. But so I'm replacing those with metal. But other than that, it's a fun airplane to fly. And it's not like a profile.
It's more, right. I was just going to say it's more than just a profile. It actually has dimension.
Yeah, it's like a VW bug made out of foam board.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like 3D one.
yeah, 3D.
And then with a cone on the back.
All right.
Yeah.
And a Hershey bar wing, because that's what that plane was. And there's a little tiny motor on the back, and it works.
So yeah, correct, Ron. We don't do the same thing. Yeah, or haven't.
I was also going to show you. I've got a plane in the background that I designed and built that's fully molded 3D foam, and I've got to put the 50 millimeter EDFs and the really complex landing gear, and I'm blanking on because I'm talking about it, so I don't remember.
I do that all the time. Don't worry.
But it's one of the things that's on the carrier. It's like an interceptor that's on the carrier. It does like 5 different jobs, and I turned out one of the guys I work with in the utility industry. He's a supplier, and I asked him what he did, and he says, "Oh, I fly everything." I'm like, "What do you mean you fly everything?" He's like, "Well, I was basically the flight deck manager for the aircraft carrier, blah, blah, blah. And I flew every aircraft. And I, matter of fact, got one of the speed records for landing. I did like 90 landings and takeoffs in 3 minutes or whatever it was he did." I was like, "What? Holy crap."
Hold on. That doesn't add up. That's 1 every 2 seconds.
I think he was just, I think it's basically he got planes up, ready to go, and off.
Oh,
So
okay.
many
I
that
ended
came
okay.
out and went in. I don't know. He described it's a measurement tool that they use to see how prepared they are.
Okay.
And he actually flies them too. So he comes in and does the landings, and because he wants to know how the process is, right? And anyway, so I asked him, I said, what's your favorite craft? And he told me, and then he showed a bunch of pictures and all stuff. And so I went to work, I was inspired. And I've got this thing, it's been sitting ready for a year because the only thing I need is a 3D printed, it's a really complex folding landing gear, rear landing gear. And I don't want to just stick a wire in it and call it done. I kind of wanted to have the gear kind of come out. That'd be the coup de grace.
Okay.
But other than that, it's ready. Like everything in it is ready.
Well, we don't have video, so I'm going to take your word for it and try and.
I'll share some pictures, or I'll find a link for you because I know I wrote it up.
Okay.
It's one of my many projects.
Yeah, so send me pictures then for sure, because what I'll do is I'll add the pictures to the bottom of our episode on our website.
Okay.
That way people can see that on the website then.
Well, okay, then when we talk about our numbers, I'm going to share with you I'll call it my hangar that's on the flight test forum. I know that's, kind of cheesy, but that's sort of like my repository of where I put my stuff. And then you could share that. And then basically anybody who wants to see and there'll be all the build logs and plans as part of that. So anyway, go ahead. I kind of went off a tangent there, but my point is that they're 3D fully molded scale models out of foam.
Okay.
Or not. Sometimes they're just simply folded.
Yeah.
Folded and angled. I mean, the Spitfire is a 3-bend process to get the wing folded over. But back to you guys.
No, you're fine. I mean, that's we don't do foam.
Well, you guys, Matt was talking about, he's wanting to get into balsa. So that was sort of leading the conversation, I think, in that direction.
Like you started with foam, and now it's time to come to real airplanes. And oh wait, no, is that not what I should say?
Well, here's one of the things that what I'm getting as I go through this is what I've learned is that a balsa airplane will hold up for 30 years in storage.
It can.
You can put it in a good storage spot, and it'll be there. And all you got to do is just prime up the motor and get it done, get it ready, and that's all you need.
Yeah, I would agree with most of them.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, there's variations on that. Foam will be very unlikely to hold up that long. You may have one for about 5 to 10 years. I mean, they hold up longer than you think if you take care of them. But regardless, it's not nearly the same shelf life.
But it's not nearly the same investment either.
Right.
Both in money and time.
No, this is true.
Yeah.
So I think it's directly proportional, right? Like, maybe you don't have a lot of time and investment in the foam airplanes, so therefore you get maybe 3 or 5 years out of them. Whereas the time and money you spend maybe on a quality balsa airplane that you built yourself is probably going to last a little bit longer, which is directly proportional to how much time you spent building it and money you spent on it, right?
However, they all crash the same.
They do. They are all perfectly capable of re-kitting themselves at any given moment.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
That is one of the big advantages I find, especially when you're new, which is who we kind of cater to on our podcast, to highlight, to go into foam. When $5 crashes, there's not much crying.
I cannot argue with that.
When your week-long endeavor and $300 expense goes in and it's just toothpicks.
Yep.
There's a little bit more tears coming out.
Yeah.
I agree. 100%.
Yeah. And more importantly, you're less likely to stick with the hobby, and that sucks because it's a fun hobby.
It is.
There's a lot of challenges and a lot of joy. Even in what I've tried to teach my kids is that it's, these things are hard sometimes, and it stinks because it's hard. Sometimes you just want to quit. But boy, when you get to that spot where you overcome that difficulty, it's even sweeter.
Yeah.
The payoff and reward for that is almost always, a tenfold advance.
Yeah. I would agree.
It's seriously worth it.
But there's just something about a balsa airplane.
Yeah, and it's really hard to quantify what that is. Like I'm sitting here, I'm listening to the conversation and I'm trying to imagine the words I can use to describe the difference. And I can't, it's hard to put into words.
I know.
It's the feel, it's the
as I understand it, more rigid, and consequently the plane's behavior is more predictable. Consequently, I mean that's not always the case, but it seems like that tends to be the way of it.
I mean, I've had profile foam airplanes before. Like, you know, I have my F-22s that I flew combat with when I was at tech school, a few years ago. And that was a fairly predictable airplane. It flew the same way every time, but it didn't, I don't know, it just didn't scratch that itch. It's hard to, it's just really hard to put into words. But Ron and I think both agree that we prefer balsa.
Well, and there's something that you're not going to get with a profile foamy. That you don't get the actual shape. You don't get the shimmer and the shine off of the monocoat, off of the covering, off of the. Just the whole airplane. To me, when it's made this way, is better than a profile foamy just for the looks.
And I certainly don't mean to take anything away, especially from like the store bought, the molded foam airplanes that they look like copies of the real one, only smaller. But there's just something about them, like the sound they make when you handle them. It's just not balsa. It's so hard to describe. It really is.
I've got some of the EPS foam airplanes. I know what you're talking about, and they're like, I don't want to mess any airplane up. But it's very easy to dent a wing or to mess up. Just take a little bit of that paint off if you hit something wrong with a fingernail or something like that on the foam airplanes that you don't get with an actual built-up balsa covered airplane.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Everybody has their own preferences, and there's no right or wrong answer as long as you're flying.
I'm excited that Matt's going to try it, though. I really am.
Yeah, me too.
Well, and we'll get into that when I get my numbers, but I've got like 5 or 6 that are in different sets, different types of kits, and different levels of difficulty. And so I'm eager to start.
So you have the kits already?
Yes. So I've bought a couple Gillows kits.
Oh, okay.
Because they're kind of small and starter, and you can tissue cover them, and they look great. And I mean, I'm thinking about putting like an 1104 with a 5-inch prop or 6x3 kind of low end, lightweight, just enough to kind of get it moving.
Yep.
And have fun with it that way.
Yeah, I've seen a few of the conversions out there, and they're so having attempted several Gillows kits and Dumas and then Comet and the others, I can tell you that they are challenging at best to build and finish and make them look nice when they're done. And I think Ron would probably agree with me.
Yeah, I've done one, and I don't I do not want to do one again.
Yeah.
I want to build more airplanes, but I don't want to build one of those again.
And I've found that as I get older, I want to do those types of airplanes even less. Because it's lots of small parts, and they're fantastic little kits. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but they're not.
No.
They're not
but they're small,
right? Exactly.
And it's not going to behave. And I've built a lot of small foamies.
Yes,
and they're a handful in the air.
Absolutely.
Period. And I know that basically that magic sweet spot seems to be 3 feet to 4 feet which is like the park flyer, which is where you all those tendencies start to calm down. And as long as you set it up okay, you'll have a fun time flying it. And then when you get to like the 6 foot mark, it's interesting and it's relaxing.
Yeah, well,
sort of.
Yeah, Ron and I have talked about that before on our podcast. It's the Reynolds number, right? It's scaling. You can scale an airplane.
I know that guy.
But you can't scale a molecule of air. So a molecule of air always is the same size, but an airplane can be different sizes. So the way an airplane behaves when it's moving through those molecules of air, is dependent upon scale. So, and the bigger they are, we say it all the time. The bigger they fly. The better they fly. Absolutely. So,
yeah, the easier they are to handle. I like big airplanes, but they're hard to fly mentally because you're afraid to lose what you have.
Well, it gets back to that conversation of investment. You have a huge, and the bigger they are, you have a huge investment financially, but then you also have that investment of time, and I get that. For me, the perfect size is a 40 size sport plane. I mean, to me, they fly great. They're relatively investment wise, they're relatively inexpensive. Yeah, and you can have a 40 size little sport plane together in a weekend, especially with some of today's quality ARFs. And you can probably frame one up, in a week or less.
Depending on how much you work on it.
Depending on the kit
absolutely.
and then, who made it or whatever. But for me, balsa is it just flies better.
And so it's like we speak different languages too. Like when we talk to you guys that do like all the flight test stuff and all that, you talk about A pack, B pack, and whatever all that is. I don't speak that language. I don't know really what exactly that means. But
you guys talking CCs,
right?
Well, when we say 40 size airplane, what that means is it's made for a 40 size nitro motor, which is
usually around 48 inches. 4 feet or so. In that general range on the wing.
Yeah. And so that's a 2-cycle
that's a 40 size,
nitro motor that's supposed to go on the front of that.
One of those assumptions I make, just that I don't even think about.
Well, and that's
about that.
That's what we see a lot for sizing and all that. Like when you buy an ARF, it's a 40 size, it's a 60 to 90 size, it's a 120 size.
Yeah.
And that all has to do with the size of the motor that it's designed to run off of.
Right.
Obviously, bigger airplanes are going to take a bigger motor. And that's kind of how we size things.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I know it's different with your CPACs and flight test stuff, but
yeah, and it's more like I like to say just like it swings a 10-inch prop, and most people are like, oh, okay. I mean, unless it's an aggressive prop, it's like no, it's a slow-fied 10-inch prop. Oh, okay, cool. So that kind of gives you a rough power ratio that you're kind of looking at. So when people are like, oh, I don't know what that means, it's like okay, it's a quad motor, like it swings a 5-inch 3-bladed prop, or an 8-inch or a 10-inch. And that's kind of where Flight Test has decided that it's the economics of it become cumbersome for the beginner. So they kind of ease back, right?
Okay.
And that seems to be where their range is. And that's the A, B, or that's the A, B, and C pack, which is basically 5-inch, 8-inch, and 10-inch props.
Oh, okay.
And again, you can, your mileage may vary. And of course, there's a lot of gradations out there beyond what they kind of, they made a quantum set in there so that it's easy. But, if you do what you want, really.
So with the airplanes you fly, is like what with the airplanes you fly, what is like the biggest size propeller you fly with? Is it going to be the 10-inch?
I've got 10 and 12-inch, mostly 10-inch, but I've got a handful of 12-inch, and I've got a couple motors I'm trying to find a home for. I'm making home fors, I should say, that swing 15-inch props.
Wow.
Good. Wow. 15-inch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's those little pancake motors from the larger scale, super efficient quadcopters. So, I mean, I'm not like putting a ton of stock into it, that it's going to be this beast, but swinging a 15-inch prop is a different animal. Now, I've got that Dawn Patrol plane, which is like a single bay biplane. That's this little, it looks like a goldfish biplane, like the food goldfish.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it looks like. Anyway, so I'm putting this on it because when you scale down everything, like the 15-inch prop is the scale for it. It's like a 15-inch height plane.
Okay.
I can tell you most of my props are 9 or 10, just depending on which props I ordered in. And generally they're slow fly. But I do, for the Spitfires, I want to order in maybe some different props that are a bit more aggressive.
And does that help understand? Because I recognize that it's a different language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like metric versus English. Once you kind of make the conversions, like, okay, wait. You're talking kilogram, it's like 2.25 pounds. Okay, got it. We're good.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. I mean, like I understand when they do sizing on airplanes and stuff, millimeters make sense for everyone except us. But man, that always like when they're listening like an ARF that's 1.8 meters, I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like how like just show me, like move your hands. How far apart is the wingspan on this so I can tell how big it's gonna be. But yeah, I mean like that does help a little bit. I never really thought about those different sizes being correlating to the different size propellers. So that kind of tells me more about the size of planes and stuff you're flying to. Although there's KV differences and all that kind of stuff too that we don't need to get into because that could be a very
It's more the nomenclature they use for their product. But I mean, if you had a nitro motor or a little gasser, a little tiny gasser, like if you said it swings a 10-inch prop, oh, okay, I can just use this thing. Whatever size that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a 40 size nitro airplane, generally speaking, will turn a 10-inch prop.
At what RPM?
Yeah, so you're looking at
Well,
that's the
but we're
same
turning that prop at
CPAC
about
stuff.
12,000 RPM.
Yeah.
That's about what these go at.
So there you go.
Well, let's see. Hold on, wait.
We just made a connection.
Look at you guys go.
1,200 kV times 11, because it's usually a 3-cell.
About 1,200 RPM.
Yeah.
12,000.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there you go.
Yeah.
So it's about the same. So that you're talking, those are the equivalents. So anything that's a CPAC, if you've got a 40 size motor, I guess that's where the equivalency is.
I guess I didn't realize the CPACs were
Interesting.
that powerful. I thought everything Flight
They
Test
are.
did was a little bit
It's
smaller.
awesome. They're awesome.
So what size, like what's the actual size of the motor on that? Do you know? Like hand size?
28, 18 ish.
That seems
So
awfully
28 millimeters by 18 is the stator.
That seems awfully small for a 40 size. Like what I usually run on 40 size or
Again, that's a stator. So it's not the bell. So I mean, the actual motor looks a little bit bigger.
yeah.
And if you go much bigger than that, then they measure the motor. It's actually of the outside of the bell. So the next step up is like a 38, 20 something or other. I don't know what it is, but it's like significantly bigger because they're now no longer measuring the stator. They're measuring the outside of the bell. And you're like, okay, well, thanks for changing that.
Yeah.
I'm not telling anybody.
And that's the one that's like one of the things that I dislike about, going, electric is there doesn't seem to be, maybe there is, but there doesn't seem to be a consistency from, what a 2812 is compared to a 4210 or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, and different manufacturers measure things differently. And that's really maddening, especially when you're trying to find a cheap motor off of Amazon that is comparable to, say, a Power 46 from Great Plains or whatever. You know what I mean?
That's when you have to look at wattage and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and
but
I'm not smart enough for that.
well, you don't like electric.
I'm with you. Yeah, I can't do the wattage to horsepower conversion at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
well,
tried.
I don't ever work in horsepower for anything
No, I
electric or
don't either.
nitro because that's not the number that
So
really comes
what's
out.
what's the unit that you guys use for the gassers and then nitros?
Really, it's just size.
Size.
Yeah. It's like a 30 cc or a
cc.
50 cc or
Right.
150 cc
Okay.
or,
Yeah, that doesn't tell you anything about the power output.
Not
Well-
necessarily, but generally speaking, let's say 50cc gasoline engines, no matter who manufactures them, 50 cc's of displacement, generally speaking, will produce this amount of
Okay, yeah, that
horsepower.
makes sense.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, because there's a certain amount of fuel, which
Exactly.
has a certain explosion rate,
Exactly.
which is physically that much energy.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's going to be a small
That makes sense,
percentage
okay.
of variance between manufacturers, but a 50cc engine from one manufacturer should produce about the same horsepower as a 50cc engine from another manufacturer.
yeah, within a few
Just
percentage
depending on-
points.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's
for sure.
kind of how you can
Yeah,
size
yeah,
the
you're-
airplane. Yeah.
That's about the small output losses and the small minute changes in bearings and
Yeah,
frictions
and
stuff.
porting and all that kind
Porting,
of stuff.
carburation,
It's
all that
more
stuff.
in depth than
Yeah.
I'm going to get into.
Yeah, me too.
So what I was going to say,
Although I could talk about it for hours.
because
I'm
hours?
Because I'm like, yeah.
I don't know about that,
Maybe not
but-
hours, but minutes.
So imagine I'm a listener, because I am, to your podcast, and I don't know nothing about gassers, and you guys have this, 50-year plus collective wealth of knowledge. So help me learn more. You did a great job, by the way, with the motor episode. Really impressed with it.
Oh, the electric one?
No,
one?
both. The gasser is what I was excited about. You go with both, honestly, but
Well, thank you.
yeah, the gasser was the one I was paying attention to because I was like, I don't know anything about these.
The nitro one. Yeah, I got you now. We haven't done a gas one yet. That's actually coming up here before too long.
Kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm going
boy.
to cover gas
But
conversions.
yeah, understanding those things to somebody who's in the electric world, it's very daunting. So to break it down in a way that it feels less involved, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But bottom line is, I mean, they're really, really simple. I mean, really.
You're right. There's not a lot to
There's
them.
not a lot to them. They're very simple to operate and they're economical to operate.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Gassers.
Oh, I thought we were talking about nitro, and I was going to say no.
No.
Nitro
We're
is
talking
not.
about gassers. He said gassers.
Economic,
So
my foot.
Well, do you mean gas or nitro? Because that's the other confusion. People will say gas when they mean nitro. Because it's still a gas motor. It's just
it
not a
is.
gasoline
It's still
motor.
a liquid fueled motor.
Yeah.
Yes. But gassers generally, we talk about gasoline powered.
Okay. I got you.
Okay.
I was just a little off topic on what we were talking about.
Well, you were busy.
I was looking at my phone because I wanted to look up. So we were talking about the 40 size replacement that I use for electric, and I couldn't remember offhand what size it was. I found some on Amazon that are 35/48s, 1100 kVs, and that's kind of what I use as a replacement for a 40 size, and I fly them on a 4-cell.
So 35/48s are like the next step up where they change how they measure. So that's like the threshold where they any lower than that size wise, and they start measuring by the stator size.
That's not confusing at all.
No, trust me.
Right?
Look,
Oh, I know.
look, I learned this the hard way, and it's weird because you're like, there's nothing in between. I just want a little bit more. Well, the little bit more is the 35, whatever it is you just said,
Yeah.
and 35/28 or whatever it is,
48
because
for this one.
that now they're including the bell, which is 4 millimeters in thickness between the magnet and the bell and the goo and the balancing whatever, and double that. Now you're at 35 millimeters.
Yeah.
And
then that second part of the number is how long the motor is. So that's when you can get a little bit more torque out of them too. So
right,
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing when I'm talking about,
that
I've got
makes
this little pancake motor. I know I'm not getting a lot of torque out of that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was showing you length, like how far it would wind. Sorry. I was doing an air gesture to Tom, and he just looked at me like I was an idiot.
It looked like you were drawing a paperclip in the air.
Well, kind of, yeah. I mean, that's anyway.
Well, that's kind of how those turns are.
Right? Thank you. I mean, you didn't see it, but you understood what I meant.
I'm familiar with electric motors, right?
I got you.
Yeah.
I had to go through the explanations of turns and stators and all that when we did our motor episode.
Yep.
And I've forgotten most of that anyway, so...
And so this is
what was that?
I forgot
most of it.
Yeah,
anyway.
I've forgotten most of it. So.
Ah, gee.
And for ours, like the one we did, like I don't keep a lot of that stuff like close in my mind because there's so much else that gets pushed in that pushes everything else out. But anyway,
it really does.
Yeah, I have a terrible memory.
So do you guys just like to breathe in balsa dust?
Yes.
Is that why
it's the best.
you dig balsa planes?
Yeah, I'll probably die of COPD because of all the balsa dust that I've inhaled over the years. But I tell you what, I wouldn't change it.
It's not the balsa dust I like. It's really the glue fumes that get me like really going.
Yeah, they can be pretty rough.
So guilty pleasure. I will admit that even now, so many years later, I love the smell of monocoat.
I don't even notice the smell of that, to be honest with you.
It has an odor that every time I start ironing it on to an airframe, it's like, just memories.
It's like, I'm home.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't know. But yeah, the exhaust, the caster with the methanol, all
the nitro.
It's all awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't want to own a nitro. I like when other people do. I've said it before, but
yeah, the balsa dust. I mean, there's you can mitigate that, right? You can wear a mask if you want to, or if you're really fancy, you can work on a downdraft type table, which are actually not too difficult to make.
No,
I would imagine you lose all your little balsa pieces on those.
No, you can use a screen, and you're not going to lose anything small through a screen.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, if balsa dust bothers you, there's ways to mitigate it. And the same goes with CA fumes. Like those can get pretty nasty.
Yeah.
But there's ways to mitigate that exposure as well.
And it's worthwhile. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really is. I mean, it might shave 15 minutes off your life for every airplane you build, but that's okay. It's worth it, right?
Worth it. Totally
hey now.
worth it.
No, but
think about
Matthew builds a lot of planes.
I'm gonna die tomorrow.
That's a lot of planes.
I don't like sanding. That is the one thing I do not like about balsa. It sands quick, which is nice. But just the mess and all that kind of stuff is the one thing. Like where I'm stuck on one of the planes I'm building now is because I don't want to go out and sand it. So that always pushes me back a little bit.
That's why you have a couple projects going at once.
Oh, always. Like more than a couple.
I can't.
I think I've got at least 4 right now that I could go start on that's sitting out around the basement in different areas.
True statement. Looking at them right now.
Yeah. But anyway,
it's weird. That one's stuck at sanding. That one's stuck at sanding.
Yeah.
We each have our thing. Look, mine all stick at electronics. So it's time to put in servos and hook up all the things and double check everything and make sure that the arms are the right length. And like that's that process, right? It shouldn't take long, but boy, oh boy, it takes weeks for me. I'll build a plane and have it ready to go having ready for electronics in like 3 hours.
Yeah.
But it'll take me a week to get the electronics.
It's when there's something you don't really like doing, it is so easy to put that off and go to something else you do like doing.
Yeah.
So I fully understand. You're right. So let's if you're ready, let's move on and talk about numbers.
Okay, changing gears.
You brought that up. So I think it's only fair.
Here we go.
Let's talk numbers.
Well, I didn't even think about it, and then you guys started bringing it up on your show, and I was like, oh wow, I don't know that I want to.
And that's like what we get from most people we talk about. They're like, I had no clue until I knew, you guys did it, and then I wanted to see what my number was and all that kind of stuff. I love the idea, just to see where people are at.
Yeah.
Well, do we want to start with Joe?
I don't care who we start with.
We got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if y'all can hear me.
Yeah, you're there. You're good.
Gotcha.
Yeah, okay. So, not that it matters too much, but for whatever reason, my connection's having issues, so I'm in and out. I'm here. The audio's still going, but anyway. That's largely why I'm being so quiet is, you won't always hear me. So my number currently, what are we saying? Planes ready to fly and then planes in the works?
Yeah. So the way we break it down, and it's going to be different for you guys because you don't do like ARFs and kits. But we have planes ready to fly. So literally you throw a battery in. You might need to tweak a thing here or there, but not more than like 5 or 10 minutes worth of work just to get it all set up. And you take it out and you fly it. And then we have like planes in progress, ones that we're working on. And then we list separately, like for us, kits and ARFs.
Right. Okay. Well, I can say, depending on how I want to break that down, I have either 0 ready to fly or 1, and that 1 being the Master Series Corsair. And the reason that it's sort of on that 0 list is I don't really have plans to fly it right now, and it would take, because we recycle receivers. So I'm not going to have a receiver for every plane.
Oh.
I would have to pull a receiver, put it in it, get the battery in it, power it up, get everything, make sure all my channels are right, make sure everything's... So it would be an hour of pre-work, even if I wanted to attempt it.
I would hate that.
Well, I haven't had a need to have more receivers than I have planes.
True.
Yet.
I guess I can see that. But I always like to keep a few spare receivers around if I can.
Or 12.
Well,
now, yes. But because you never know what's coming up. You never know when you're going to buy another airplane.
That's true.
Well, my number has never been higher than 3 at any time. And that's how many receivers I have.
Well, there you
so,
go.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So that makes sense then.
Now, I did order in some more receivers, largely because I wanted the same receiver and I wanted each of the Spitfires I'm building for Flight Fest to have their own receiver. So,
and
makes sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise, planes not ready to go but close. Could be argued the Vulture, the HRC Vulture, because I'd have to mount a motor, but it has flown. The HRC-7 has not flown yet. That's number 2. It needs me to go in and fix some control surfaces and figure out what went on with the electronics. Because Matthew will tell you, we got out there to the field and it went nuts.
I heard about that. Yeah.
Kind of twitchy stuff, and you're like, what is going on? I mean, both of us were looking at it going, that doesn't make sense.
When you put the 4-cell in.
There was no reason. Yeah, but not the 3.
Yeah.
And the ESE was rated for 4.
What about the motor?
So
you said the motor was not.
The motor was.
Oh, I thought you said the motor was not.
No, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Everything was rated for the power he was putting into the system. It just was doing weird twitchy stuff.
Well, even if the motor wasn't, the motor had no power to it yet.
True.
Like I never throttled it up when we got out there.
Yeah, that's weird.
It was just the battery plugged in and servos were doing crazy things.
I wonder if there's something weird going on with the BEC.
Yeah, it could be.
Could be.
Interesting.
So what I need to do is bring it back here and bench it again and actually put the 4-cell in it and see what's going on, if it's repeatable. And if it is, then I may have to get one of those electrical noise reducer donuts.
A choke.
Sure.
Yeah, the little magnets.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
The little donut magnets that go around it to
Mhm.
make it quieter.
And see if
Yeah.
that does anything.
So 3 is the
Yeah,
is the
so
number.
there's 3. There's a Spitfire in the back of my car that is
3.
almost that's
3
almost ready to
planes.
go. So I've still got the old fogey that needs a little bit of patchwork and maybe a new wing and power pod. And then my glider that needs some internal work. So Vulture, Spitfire 7, Fogey glider, so maybe 5.
Yeah.
In
Okay.
various
Mhm.
Well, that's not bad.
conditions. So not a ton. And then two or three more Spitfire sitting there, somewhat cut out, waiting to be assembled.
Nice.
I'm sensing a theme. Spitfire. I hear Spitfire a lot.
I really like the Spitfire. It was the best flying plane I've had yet.
Okay.
It honestly, the FT Spitfire is a very solid flying model. It can be a beginner's plane easily. It handles really well. It has, of all the different ones I've flown, that one seems to be, every time I put it together, it flies the way it's supposed to, right out of the hand.
Yeah, that's how they should be.
Yeah, for sure.
They should all be that, but
Yeah.
they're not always. Some of them, especially with the foam, it's like, oh, well, I put it a little off square, so it flies a little funny. And if you're a beginner, you don't know any better. And so, this one seems to just make up for any ill tendencies that you may put into it, for the most part.
Awesome.
So we were just like, hey, look, everybody should build one of these, and bring it to Flight Fest, because we're going to that festival event, the Flying Fest. Hopefully, we'll get to fly it all together.
Yeah, that actually should be pretty cool. That's coming up. When is that? Is that at the end of next month? End of June?
Yeah, June 23rd through the 26th, I think.
All right. So how far of a drive is that for you guys?
It's only,
9 hours?
Yeah, it's only 9 or 10 hours.
That's not terrible.
Is that the one in Champaign?
No. That's the one in Ohio.
It's Malvern, Ohio.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's
Mhm.
about,
Right on the border of Pennsylvania.
yeah. It's pretty far from here. But that's
Yeah.
where Flight Fest does their thing every year.
Mhm.
So how long do you guys stay at that? Like, is that where you go the whole week, or is that a weekend thing? Or I honestly am not familiar with Flight Test or Flight Fest or any of that kind of stuff, because we just have never. I mean, we've never done anything with foam, so
Yeah.
Yeah, so last year we drove up on Thursday. I had to get up and go to Matt's place, and then we drove up on Thursday. And then it was Thursday evening shifting into night as we were there and getting our tent set up and all. So Thursday was wasted, pretty
Yeah.
much. And then Sunday, about mid-morning, midday, we had to be packed up and on the road because of the drive.
Yeah, we both had
Oh.
work the next day.
oh, that's when you take
So
Monday
my
off.
hope is...
Yeah. So basically, so you were flying what, Friday and Saturday then?
Friday and Saturday, and even then I didn't do a ton of flying because I cracked my Corsair. And
And
Yeah.
it was raining. It made it hard to kind
That
of
was a
rebuild things.
lot.
So.
yeah, there's a lot of
Well,
rain.
hopefully this
Yeah,
year's
it's
better
okay.
then.
Yeah. Is this
It's the way of it. You just know that, oh, well, I guess we're going to be spending time and hanging out and meeting people.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Joe, is this a
and
a foam electric only kind of an event?
It is an electric only
Okay.
event.
Huh.
Right.
Yeah. So you can bring foam. You can bring most
bring your
people out there,
SPAD.
but yeah, you could bring some sort of like I think they were selling some plastic guys there last year, or some more fiberglass based guys. As long as it's electric. So arguably Ron could, and I told Ron he could bring one of his out there.
Mhm.
Just know that at any given time there could be as many as 100 other planes. in the air.
Sweet.
Which, by the way, if you haven't seen the videos of it, watch it.
Yeah.
It is just a marvel to see. And it's
Yeah,
amazing that
Combats are nuts.
it's as much as you want to hit people, because that's the point of it for half the time, you can't hit
It's
anybody.
hard. Yes.
Yeah.
It's really hard. There's hundreds of planes in the air, and
Yeah.
you still can't hit
Yeah,
it.
we've
It's easier
talked-
to do it on accident
Yeah,
than on
I think-
purpose.
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, whenever you think, hey, there's no way I'm going to hit that guy. that's when you go crap.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm so
Well,
sorry.
in fairness, why don't we alternate back and forth between the two shows? Like,
Yeah.
Ron, what's your number? Moving on.
Yeah, that's well, I have 30 ready to go.
Okay.
In process, which is me working on stuff, I'm at 15, and then I'm at 7 ARFs and kits. So that's my number.
Okay.
And those range all the way from UMX, like the small ultra micro Horizon hobby airplanes, all the way up to 170 cc size yak with 126 inch wingspan.
Nice.
Yeah, let that sink in, that last one.
I imagine that yak flies like a dream.
And if I recall right, it's 1 inch bigger than yours, Tom?
Oh, I don't have anything near that big.
No, yeah, Tom.
No,
actually,
mine-
what's your biggest airplane, Tom?
The biggest one I have is that 50 cc S-Bach, and what is that? Maybe 82
89.
inches. Oh, 80. It might.
I would
be
think 80
89.
and 89 or so. I don't think they're quite 90
Yeah.
for 50 cc.
And that's
but
that's. Well,
That's
I guess
still a
that
good
glider.
size airplane.
I have that glider. It's pretty big.
Is that on your list, by the way? Because you always forget about that
yeah,
glider.
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to find my list. I thought I had it. but- yeah.
Yeah, so that's my number then. While Tom is looking for his list because we came so ill prepared. Matt, what's your number?
Okay. Okay, so I did a quick count today, and I would say I've got about 40 that if I move the power pod over with the receiver and hook it up, I should be able to fly them.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
Ish. Some now some I'll admit they've been there for like 2 years.
Yeah.
well.
And they may be in more of a questionable. They may have been left in a state of, I'll do that next time.
Oh, we all have planes like that, so I can't fault
Yeah.
you on that one.
Yeah.
No, and so that's where I think more of them are left than I expect. And I know for a fact I've got a solid 10 that I can go, ooh, I want to fly that, and just make sure that the power. But I try to make all of mine swappable, so that way I can basically have maybe 4 or 5 power pods, which is basically the motor setup with the ESC and the battery, and then an ESC. And then I move that, and I've got, if I'm smart, I labeled all of my servo ends so I know which slot they go into, and I just plug it in and go, okay, it's the Tiger Cat. Okay, let me find the Tiger Cat in my model selection, and then I should be theoretically ready
The
to
question is, Matt, were you smart?
go. No, most of the time I'm not that smart.
I just I want you to go on record there.
I'm smart about certain things. That's not one of them. So let our listeners, maybe we can all learn from that and go to your models. And if you don't have a label on your servo leads, put them on
Put
there.
them on there.
If you ever have to pull out your receiver for any reason, you can at least get it back to working with another receiver later.
Well, and for
It's
us,
easy.
like when we take models and stuff to the field, we take wings apart. There's a lot of disassembly that comes with ours.
Yeah.
So you really need to label everything that you have to unplug from the receiver, or else, it's a lot harder to get it put back together if you don't know what goes where.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, if this was something recent that Spectrum has done, but like,
I don't think they fly Spectrum.
What's the Spectrum?
Yeah, I can't afford Spectrum.
okay.
I'm just kidding. I know what the Spectrum
Okay.
is. I'm
Well,
kidding.
Anyway, so for anybody who's listening that might be, flying with Spectrum equipment, did they change their channel port assignments recently on their receivers?
I don't know either.
They've been messing around with it a lot lately.
Yeah.
Because they're proprietary and they want to keep their intellectual property, and they're saying this is mine, and people keep copying it. So they make it harder and harder for everybody, it seems. So I know a lot of pilots have been griping about Spectrum and the way they've been reconfiguring to keep their product safe.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
I just want something that works. And
Me
that's
too.
that's like, I think honestly the only reason I'm with Spectrum, and I know you guys fly, like, is it Radio Master? Is that one of the ones you have?
Yeah,
Radio Master, Turnigy, Jumper.
Yeah, I've got the Jumper T16. He's got the Radio Master version. I started out with Radio Link because it has a 2.5 mile link, and the receivers are stupid small, like the Lemon RC, and they're $15 or $12. They're nothing for a 6-channel, which is pretty much all I needed.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it was $115 price point at the time, which was half of what Spectrum wanted for everything they had.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I can't do that. And at the time, I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
So I went with in between. Now, nobody else uses it at all, ever. So I'm kind of on my own with it. And I'm like, but their brand is the Pixhawk, which is incredibly reputable. Everybody loves it. It's like, oh, the Pixhawk is top-notch stuff there.
Yeah.
But their receiver and transmitter people, it's fully functional. I mean, to me, it's as functional as the Radio Master. Maybe not as versatile in that it can't do multiple protocols, but as far as what you can do in it, it's as good as any other radio I found.
Yeah, and I think that's where at least where I come off as to where I just want simple.
Yeah.
I want simple.
Right.
I want it to work, and I want everything to work together. And I think that's why, the first airplane I bought had Spectrum in it. And I think that's kind of why I stuck with that, because you just, as you move up, you get better and better and better until you end up wherever you are at this point. Because the first
Tom, what are you laughing at there?
Oh, I'm laughing because I've been in it for such a long time. I've had to start over 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started, with the old AM, 72 megahertz radios, and then I made the jump to FM / synthesized 72 megahertz radios, and then I made the jump to Spectrum.
Yeah.
With the DSS or the spread spectrum technology.
Just to paint a picture for you guys, right now he's sitting in his rocking chair with a little cat on his lap, and he's all covered up. So
I am.
This is
3 of those facts are true.
3.
I don't have a cat on my
now?
lap.
You're not in a rocking chair either.
Well, I could make it rock.
Well, as I understand it, you're living in Alaska, or at least you might as well be in the basement.
It's friggin' cold here. Yeah.
I told him the other day we were supposed to record, and we had to we postponed it for a day, and it's a good thing because we had turned the air on like normal, and I forgot to close the vents down here, and I came down, it was like 55.
Yeah, I would have flipped.
It was
my list down
92
here.
degrees outside and like 55 in the basement here. It was too cold for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And if
That
it's too
sounds
cold for Ron,
wonderful.
then like it's icicles over here sitting in this chair for me. So yeah.
Okay, so that was 40 for like the quickly operational planes. And then there's like another 25 that are in various states of maybe I got inspired and got about to the 80% mark. Maybe it just needs electronics, or maybe it's something that I flew and got damaged. And it could fly again if I spend, the 20, 30 minute to 1 hour quality time with it to suss out what happened and kind of redo something, And so I've got another 20, 25 of those. I also have maybe 6 or 7 flight test kits that are still in the plastic, haven't been opened. And I've got just as many. I have 4 commercial purchases that are almost, ARFs, ARFs. The Piranha, the ASW 5, that little super jet, now because I'm thinking of it, I can't think of it. It's a little German EDF, little flying wing kind of deal. And I'm trying to think of the one other one. I have something else that I purchased. It's kind of, a Vapor.
you like, what do you mean vapor?
Like a night
what
vapor?
are those things called? The little
UMX vapors? Is that what we're talking
Yeah.
about?
Oh,
an actual
Spectrum
Spectrum.
one.
And the
Okay. Or
E-Flight.
E-Flight, yeah.
And that's part of why I bought the jumper, because I'm like, oh, well, that's Spectrum and this is something else. And I've got a totally different thing over here. Like, I'd like to be able to run these little, and then Minimum RC has this Star Voyager thing, which comes with one of those little all-in-one boards kind of deal, which I think runs a DSMX protocol.
Yeah, and it just has everything like servos and everything built onto it, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think this one actually had ports out to the itty bitty servos, like the 2.7 gram servos.
Yeah, the linear servo.
It's tiny, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just throw it in the air and it kind of hovers around. Everybody's like, "Are you worried about it hitting a car?" I'm like, "It weighs nothing. Like if it'll do more damage to anything other than I promise you, your car is perfectly safe."
So flying in places you shouldn't be flying. It sounds like we're talking to Reggie on this one.
I was just getting ready to say
No,
that.
that's
Matt Washington.
If I could tell you the number of times I've said, Matthew, quit flying in your neighborhood.
That's because he comes over and we only have time to like look at a plane, not go out and fly it proper.
You fly it down the road.
Right. And then I bring it back and I land it. Now, what size are the planes? Very tiny, right?
That's true.
Joe, I feel your pain, buddy.
I mean, tiny enough, but if you flew it into my
We'd be
car,
talking, I know.
we'd be having words.
That's fine. Anyway, so that aside, and then I've got the 6 or 7 balsa kits. I got 2 Gillos. I've got 1 Lane's planes, the CUDA, which I couldn't resist. I know I need a little bit more experience flying to be able to fly that the way it's supposed to be flown, which is fast and angry. And what else? Oh, I've got a Prandtl D. A balsa kit for that. That's pretty advanced. I've got the Marabou. I've got plans for it, and I've got all the balsa for it. So I'm going to do that from scratch. And then I've got a turbinator, and it's like a Trainer 40 or something like that. It's like a low-wing trainer plane.
That's where I would start.
From the olden days.
That's the one I would build next.
That and the Turbinator, I was told, were the go-to planes. Like they're, if you have an EDF, an electric EDF, like which I do, you say build the Turbinator, you'll be happy. Or if you should, or build a low-wing trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trainer I think is a good one to get into flying with balsa, just because it'll give you a good. Like trainers are usually pretty easy to build. They fly. I mean, other people have figured out the problems and have designed them out of it. So it's going to be a good flying airplane, and you're not going to be out too much time or effort in building one of those, I don't think.
Okay. Of those planes, I would have to say 35 of them. It's the S3 Viking is the molded model I was thinking of.
Aha, okay.
I would have to say about 30 of those are designs I put together either based on things I saw and wanted to make a Dollar Tree foam, or was inspired by a different challenge or another. And they probably have a 50% success rate in getting to a good flying model.
Aha. Okay.
And I say that because there's a much user, and half of these were done when I started. I couldn't fly for squat back then.
Well, 50% is still a good number. I mean, like for building something out of foam and just trying to see how it's going to work and fly and stuff. I mean, I think that's pretty respectable.
And these are planes nobody's flown.
Yeah.
I mean, like somebody made a SAM 7, right? Sigma. It's an old World War II kind of concept model plane. It looks like basically a flying wing with a big Mustang front, but it has no tail. So it's a tailless, no rudder, just it's a mess, right? And there's a guy who flew it. He made a fake rudder out of plastic, and he said it was a bear to get balanced and flying. He's got a video or two, and he says, "Good luck." So I built one of those, a flying submarine,
it was a challenge,
which nobody's built. It's literally a napkin sketch. And the Kalanine K-12, which is reported to have flown pretty well, but there's a lot of weird, complex stuff going on with the wing and the hanging elevator and aileron surfaces. They're reverse profile wings, so they have the Clark Y, but upside down for the control surfaces. And they have push-out rudders, so they're drag rudders on the wingtips.
Interesting.
And it's no tail. So those are like some of the first 3 I tackled. I'm like, oh,
easy to fly. I mean, no reason.
Easy.
Yeah.
This should be fun. It's great. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at the list, when you go down, look at the list, like these are all like concept planes that nobody has any idea if it'll fly. And I was just curious to see, 1, can I make it look like it's supposed to?
Yeah.
And 2, can I actually get this thing to fly? And I usually get about 50% of the way, which is basically I get it to look the way it's supposed to, and I get it to the point where it's really close to being able to fly. If only I knew more.
And you'll circle back to that sometime soon.
They're still
but
there.
The nice thing is, though, if you're talking about 35 of those airplanes, you're at less than $50.
Yeah.
That's it. No, it's a little bit more than that.
Oh, is it more than one? Okay, so let's even say
They're 30.
I was gonna say even if it's 4 per, you're not out a lot of money on that. So that's pretty awesome.
No, I'm not out a lot of money. But I mean, I have a foaming bird at a time. That's I think 8 or 10 sheets of foam board.
I'm sorry.
It's a full scale 12 foot.
Yeah, that's amazing to me because I'm doing the math in my head. That's let's say $12 worth of foam
or $12. Yeah.
And that's like 3 pieces of 4-inch by 1/8 by 36-inch balsa.
Yeah.
So I mean that's just that
Right.
much difference in what you guys actually get to build with.
Yeah.
So I can understand why you build so much more than we do.
Yeah.
Well, Matthew does anyway.
Well, the fact that it's cheaper and they can do it quicker too.
Yeah.
They can really
Right.
trim
Like I
them out.
tested a Prandtl D concept, the NASA Prandtl D model, which is a concept plane that they had, and I tried to make a replica, and I did, and I was trying to fly it, and I literally flew it on the worst moment possible, and it flew back on me and cracked into the ground and cracked in half, and I was like, So eventually, I kind of was talking to he was actually the pilot of the concept plane, and I had an epiphany like an hour before we got on with him. So the next day I went and checked it out, and it flies amazing.
Awesome.
And I was able to fly, come up with the idea and have a prototype working within the week.
Yeah, that always feels good when something comes together and works the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll stop. So that's my number, somewhere around 75. Tom?
All right, Tom.
It's not near as impressive as that. I think my total numbers, I'm just going to round and say it's 50 total. Now these are, 95% of these are balsa planes. So figure the investment, that's about the same, maybe not quite the same as 75 total airplanes. But anyway, I've got about 24 of them that I could take, charge a battery and go fly right now. 6 are in the various stages of build or repair. And then I've got 16, roughly 16 in the queue that I'm going to build eventually.
Someday.
Nice.
That's got to feel nice.
So Ron's called me out, several times. He's called me a hoarder, which really hurt my feelings. But anyway.
It's a good hoarding. I said that before. Like, that's supposed to be a compliment.
But I figure, someday I'm going to retire. Like, hopefully someday, in the next 10 years or less, I'm going to retire. And then I don't want to be bored, right? And I love airplanes. So it's not that I've been stockpiling, but when I find a decent deal on a kit that maybe I had way back in the day, or a kit that interests me or whatever, I pick it up and I stash it in the basement. So yeah, I've got a small stash of that, 16. If you think 16 is a small stash.
But if you're picking them up at good deals, it's not hoarding as much as investing for the future.
Well, that's
You
the
can
way
always
I
offload them.
Yeah, Joe, that's the way I look at it. I mean, like I said, I don't want to be bored in my retirement, and I love to build. I love to tinker. I've always been a tactile learner, right? So flying around on a simulator in retirement is not something I want to do. I want to build and tinker. So I have things in the queue to satisfy that itch when I retire.
And they're not getting cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
No,
So-
and that's the other thing is, like, even if I decided not to build these and they're in my estate when I die, the wife, if
They're coming to me.
if she wants to sell them, I've instructed her on how to find the correct pricing for these things, and she will price them accordingly and sell them.
How did you? Now, hold on. I'm curious on that one. What did you tell her?
Well, I showed her how I find the prices.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I told
Well,
her.
that's timeless. So that's good because things will change.
Exactly.
When that time comes to push up some daisies on your end and get rid of your airplane.
Yeah.
Ooh, we took a turn to the weirdest, but that's okay. So
Yeah, man. Tom, I hope you have many a year of happy
Thanks,
flying
Joe.
left ahead of you, bud.
I
well, I do
appreciate that.
too.
No, I think you want me to die so you
Expect you're
can get all
going to
my
be flying
airplanes.
like gangbusters.
That's what it sounded like
Yeah, I
to
know
me.
Ron's over here just trying to get a hold of your
See?
estate and shove you out a little early,
You don't
but
have a.
I truly want the best for you.
And Tom, listening to what some people tell me when they go to estate sales, you with a 16 box queue you are in great shape.
Yeah. I
promise you, compared to the things I've heard, they're like, oh, this guy had like 50 untouched,
right.
completely sealed boxes,
Yeah.
let alone the ones he opened
Yeah.
up.
And,
like, wow.
16, that's, depending on who you talk to, that's not a huge number. But, I've passed up a lot of airplanes that I could have bought too that I didn't because either they didn't interest me. I mean, I don't buy them just to buy them.
Yeah.
Like I buy them.
You're discerning.
Yeah. I buy them either because I like that one. Well, because I like that one. I mean, I like it enough to want to build it someday, not to try to, save this and then try to turn a profit and flip it, the next week
Yeah.
or whatever.
You're not
That's
a
not what
dealer.
I do.
Yeah.
So,
You're a hoarder, a collector.
and I'm into biplanes. I mean, a fair amount of those 16 are biplanes actually.
Yeah.
So,
It's such a.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, they're pretty.
It's twice the wing for the buck.
Exactly. See,
But
Joe
they're-
gets it.
But there's so more. I mean, there's just that much more to deal with. You got to do twice as much to install it. You got to keep two wings.
For a guy like me, that makes me twice as happy.
Well, that's all. I mean,
Yeah, I was going to say when hooking up each wing and each wire, each connection brings him happiness. That's way more happiness.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, he sounds all innocent and happy about doing stuff on the podcast, but I've been there when he's got to hook stuff up and things aren't quite going right and the motor's not running right, and
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean,
Fraggle, fraggle, rip, rip, rip,
Yeah.
rip.
Yeah.
Sounds like Tom's a man after my
Hey,
own
listen,
heart.
I'm not gonna say that it's all sunshine and roses. I mean, there are days that that I just want to take that
You
trash
wanna
can
quit.
Telemaster and put it right back in the trash can.
How many motors did y'all go through on that
I
thing?
think the one we finally settled on was number 4.
number 4. Yeah.
So
And we went gas, so I'm happy on that one.
Yeah.
That's
And
where I wanted to end up.
it runs and flies great now.
So much dedication.
Yeah. Well, see, we're tenacious. We are.
That's
We're
for
not
sure,
smart enough
and
to give
it
up.
Impresses me.
Yeah. We're not smart enough to know when to give up. So we just keep pushing.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. So what's next? You guys have a history segment you usually do, right?
So history. When we initially talked about doing this crossover episode, a long time ago, but as it became more of a thing, I said, well, we do a flight history segment. Do you mind if we do it? And you're like, yeah, that's fine, as long as we get to pick the plane. And
Oh, whoa! You didn't tell me that part.
yeah, they got to pick the plane.
I don't think I said it that
So then,
way.
are they doing this one? Because they should know more about this plane after the research they must have done to get to the model they're doing.
Well,
You
but
just gave it away.
yeah.
Well, to our listeners anyway.
No, you guys do a lot of models.
Well,
We gave it away to us. It was going to be a surprise, even though we told you what to do it on.
Hey, Ron, Tom, I'm doing the Ford Tri-Motor today.
That's
What? No
that's a
way.
great idea.
Get out of town.
You are so
I don't
smart.
know anything about that airplane.
You know, you guys talked about it a lot, and I wanted to know more about the history. I'm so glad that Joe has gone in and saved our butts with that.
Me too. Joe, what do you got, buddy?
Yeah, we're going to see how much I got. The Ford Tri-Motor, called the Tri-Motor, but its nickname is the Tin Goose. Now, why it was given that name, I don't know. But first flight was in June of 1926. It was manufactured by Stout Metal Airplane Division at the time then of the Ford Motor Company. I say at the time because the Stout Metal Airplane company was bought out by Ford. But years before, William Bushnell Stout, I believe, is who started the company. He sent out a letter to a number of investors or a number of leading manufacturers asking them to invest in, I guess, his company, what would become Stout Metal, the Stout Metal Company, asking them for $1,000 investment. And with that letter made the statement, for your $1,000, you will get one definite promise. You will never get your money back.
Yes.
But as I understand, it was because he knew, look, you're never going to get your money back from this investment, but we're going to do some really cool things, and you're going to be a part of that. And so they went on to make up some designs, and then came along with what would eventually become the Ford Tri-Motor. The Tri-Motor is an all-metal construction. The exterior skin is corrugated aluminum, so it's very lightweight, but that corrugation gives it a lot of strength. That said, as you guys go to do yours, know that the corrugation causes a lot of increased drag. So you're going to have a reduction in performance from what you'd necessarily expect.
I've got a question before you, if you don't mind me pausing here. What direction is the corrugation going?
Front to back.
Yeah. It's running with the air.
It's with the Airstream. Yeah.
So it's like a train car.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but so it's definitely better than if it was going cross the wind.
Perpendicular.
There's some turbulence for you.
No, actually, you know what? It'd be like a KMF thing where there'd be like air pockets that kind of essentially create the airfoil, regular airfoil shape.
Okay. I'd be curious to see that in a smoke tunnel.
Well, you guys do it and let us know how it turns out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Challenge
Don't challenge me
accepted.
like that when you watch it. Careful.
Now, I do still have some of that old sign material you gave me when we first got started. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could peel one layer off of that and might be able to do something with it.
Nah, it's not the same. We'll get a crinkler. It'll be great.
Okay.
We'll 3D print a crinkling thing.
You got the 3D printer.
That's it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So even though it's not perpendicular to the airflow, it's that much more surface area. So added strength, but reduced performance. An interesting bit about the design of the wings and the fuselage, they followed very closely the Junkers designs.
Yes, the JU-52. Yeah.
I don't have that one in the list that I was looking at, but the J.I, the Junkers F-14, Junkers K-16, and Junkers G-24 were the ones that were mentioned in what I was reading.
Okay.
Junkers ended up suing Ford Company. This was after Ford bought the Stout Metal Company and became Stout Metal Airplane Division. Junkers sued Ford when Ford attempted to export the Tri-Motor to Europe and won the case due to how closely the Tri-Motor followed Junker designs. And Ford actually tried to countersue in the 1930s in Prague, but also lost that case. So, let's see. Designed primarily for passenger use, it could carry 11 passengers and 3 crewmen. And I didn't know this until I didn't see it in any of the materials, but I was watching a video on the Tri-Motor. Guy had it in his, I guess, personal collection museum. There's a toilet in the back of the plane.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
See.
Yeah.
Yep. So this became sort of the first real commercial person
Airline?
carrier. Yeah, airline. There we go. Matt's laughing at I can't find the word, I guess.
Happens to me all the time.
I'm laughing at it's, if you're going to lighten the load somewhere, the tail of the plane is the best place.
Yeah, but you're carrying the load back there first. And then you...
I know. Look, the sensibility of it doesn't really carry through, but I'm just saying my mind went there.
I hear you.
I'll be honest, as I have...
All right, go ahead, Joe. Sorry. That's a really neat little fact. Is that one of the first ones to have a bathroom in the plane?
I'm not sure, but I would have to assume that it is, largely because this was the first of its type to be used in this manner. I'm not sure that there were a bunch of, too many other airline type planes, and I know that this sort of set the tone for future airline.
Yeah.
Future airline planes. So, no, I don't imagine any others had a toilet in the back. up to this point.
Okay, so it was a Pioneer.
Mhm.
Nice.
Potentially, yeah. It would sit 11 passengers. It utilized some of the tri-motor has a very thick cord, and so they use that aspect to actually make in the wing baggage storage for passengers. And that's where some of the luggage would go. Is
In the wing,
inside the
okay.
wing.
Oh, good place for it.
Smart too, because
Yep,
it
they open
doesn't
up those
change your
cubbies with
CG, too much.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Right. You store all the
Put
bags.
it
you
right
want.
on the
That's right.
CG. That's awesome.
Honestly, that thick Hershey bar thing reminds me of the Taylor Aero car. That thing's just a monster of the aspect ratio is.
The tri-motor is just so ugly. It's beautiful.
See,
I mean,
don't-
that's
See, I don't think it's ugly at all.
Really?
Like, I think it's beautiful. Like, there's nothing, in my opinion, there's nothing ugly about it. I think the JU-50, the Junkers or Junkers that Ford may or may not have,
may
actually
or may
not Ford, but
Inspired.
Stout, may or
Allegedly.
may not have copied from, was actually a low wing, and I think that airplane is ugly.
Yeah.
But the tri-motor
Well,
having the wing up high on the shoulder like that, I think it's beautiful.
Like I said, I like the airplane a lot. I think
You
it's
called
beautiful.
it ugly.
But I think it's so beautiful. Well, maybe lumbersome. Does lumbersome sound better?
No,
It just
I
look.
think it's.
That's a better
Yeah.
descriptor.
See,
for sure.
I don't know. I think it's gorgeous.
It kind of looks like a balding man with a furrowing brow.
Maybe that's why Tom
a
likes it so
determined look,
much.
but-
Balding.
It looks like
with
like
a
he's
furrowed brow.
like he's looking in the mirror.
Or a determined look, like I'm getting there.
Wow.
I can do this. I can.
Well, you can't see the picture that Matthew shared me, but now that I'm looking at it, yes.
Sorry. It's got great cockpit visibility because it's got a glass ceiling over where the cockpit is. And, it's got the thin little, we'll call eye slits. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what
And
you're
it's
talking
just-
about because the glass comes out. It's an odd shaped
Yeah.
cockpit glass. Yeah,
It's again, there's a lot of character that I could see where you'd fall in love with
Yeah.
the plane. But just I'm looking at certain parts of it. I'm like, now the Junkers, did they have the cowl around the pistons?
Some of them. And Ford, the
because I
tri-motor
always thought
did
those
too.
looked weird.
Yeah, so some of the versions, not to take away from Joe's history, because he's probably
go for it, man.
got this, but some of the later versions of the tri-motor, like the 5AT and the ones that they put the higher horsepower engines on, they had cowls around them, and the JU-52 did sort of the same thing. Yeah,
Okay.
but cowlings were new at the time. People were you still had to cool these engines; they were air cooled, so wrapping a cowl around them wasn't an efficient way to keep them cool. That it took them quite a few years to develop the baffling and all that kind of stuff that you had to put inside the cowls to take advantage of the reduced aerodynamic drag that they gave you. But anyway,
to get the air moving where you wanted it. Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. Just putting a cowl around it isn't going to get the air moving per se.
right, Right.
You have to do some fun things with it. But boy, when you do, it works.
yeah. But I mean, it's just a beautiful airplane. The engine's hanging out there in the air. You can see all the cylinders, and yeah, I don't think there's anything unattractive about it, Ron.
Okay. Maybe I used the wrong word. Let's move on.
Yeah, wrong.
No,
Let's
it's
move on.
fine. I think lumbersome sounds. I think that's a good descriptor because it's like a heavy lifter of a plane. It's got broad shoulders. It'll get it done.
Yeah, it's not like a sleek, beautiful type airplane that
Well,
you would consider like eye candy.
like a fighter.
Well, not even that, but even like a
Come on.
I mean, fighters, yeah, they're
Spitfires.
very sleek, very fast, but
Like
I don't
there's
know,
nothing
it's-
sexier than like a Focke-Wulf 190. Like
Oh,
that is
those-
sleek,
those don't do
beautiful,
anything for me.
Or a
like
Spitfire.
or a Spitfire. Yeah, Spitfires are
Spitfires
also
are okay.
gorgeous.
Spitfire
Yeah.
does it for me.
Yeah,
Hubba.
but yeah, I mean, it's a different kind of airplane, and it's a different kind of gorgeous.
You're
Sorry.
okay. It's a different kind of beautiful. I got you.
Yeah.
You're right. I agree. There we go. Sorry, Joe. We cut you off.
No, you're good.
This is how we do it in our show too.
Sometimes. Definitely sometimes. So, no, and Tom, you're perfectly fine to have gone over variants because I hadn't gotten to variants in my notes.
Oh.
So I hadn't typed all that up. I've got a little more that I can go over, and then I've kind of reached the end of notes I'd taken.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information out there, surprisingly.
There-
It's a little hard to come by outside the Wikipedia page. But yeah. Where was I?
Yeah, you were with.
Are you about to interrupt me again?
I was going to say. I was just trying to help you get to where you were. I see some of your notes, and I was just saying
Okay.
that it's designed for the 11 passengers.
I got it. Thank you. So it was designed for that. Could carry 11 passengers, 3 crew, but it could be easily adapted for hauling cargo. I think it got used as a mail carrier plane at some point. And I also know it was used in some of the armed forces. As the name suggests, it had 3 motors. Now, I didn't see this on the Wikipedia page. I was watching that museum guy talk about it.
I think you're probably talking about Kermit Weeks.
Might have. He did a full tour of it.
There's a couple others too.
Is there a couple others?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. EAA actually does they got a page on their website.
Anyway, sorry about that.
That's okay.
There was a cutout.
No, go ahead.
So even though it had 3 motors, I thought it was interesting. It could run just fine without the center motor.
Mm-hmm.
But if one of the side motors went out, it was a lot more problematic.
Yeah.
And I guess that has to do maybe with where the power position was positioned or how much rudder input was necessary to overcome the differential thrust.
Right.
I don't know. That was just something that was discussed. Apparently it's really bad on the adverse yaw,
Mm-hmm.
and that might be due to the corrugation. I don't know. Or just big control surfaces. So as you guys go to make yaws, just be aware you go into a turn, adverse yaw is going to be a big problem with that one.
Right on.
If it had a Prandtl wing, it wouldn't have that problem.
Yeah, well,
kidding.
this
Go
kind of predates Prandtl a bit.
Yeah. No, technically, yeah, by about 2 years. Go ahead.
Really, was Prandtl that old?
His design, his concept, and the 4-page paper that he wrote all the findings up on was in, I think, either 1928 or 1931.
Okay.
It was early.
A couple of little tidbits I got. The control mechanisms are largely outside the plane.
Yes, it's beautiful.
It is weird.
I love it.
But I dig it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're going to try to replicate that on ours.
What do you mean? Do you mean that basically all the stick controls run to pulleys outside the plane?
Yep.
There's rocker arms outside the plane.
Yep.
That's what those
So-
are?
And then the wires run outside too.
If you're looking at that, if you look at that picture you sent me,
Yeah, below the little
you see
oval.
that below that you see that like T-shaped thing coming out.
Yeah, the black oval. Yeah. I see it.
Well, not the black oval, but that T-shaped thing. That's what's reaching. It's got cables that run back and are engaging control surfaces.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's a bell crank.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all the
Awesome.
wires are on the outside of the airplane.
Yeah,
so
all
when
the-
you're flying, you can actually see them working and moving. Yeah, it's awesome.
It's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. And all the instruments on there, and I think you guys know this, but all the instruments in the cockpit are only reading the center motor.
That's exactly right.
RPM, oil pressure, oil temperature, all that. For the external motors, you got to look out the windows.
At the motors.
At the actual motors.
At
they
the
have
motors.
stuff on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have all
Yeah.
the gauges mounted on the pods outside.
So you have to have really good vision to fly the Ford
No
Traveler.
doubt. You think they would have made those
no.
bigger?
Now, the guy was saying it was a really good plane to fly.
Yeah.
Gentle in its own right, but apparently it was also a guy that was doing an acrobatic routine with him years ago.
Can't imagine that, but yeah.
And I wish I could remember the name of the organization, but there is one that goes around and does flying tours.
EAA. The Experimental Aircraft Association has one.
It is actually going to be in Springfield this weekend.
Yep.
Well, why aren't you going there?
We are.
Oh, we're going.
We're gonna
yeah.
we're gonna try to go out to the airport and at least get pictures of it and stuff.
Yep.
No, you
Yeah, so
try to
last
get a
time
ride in it.
Well,
Right.
last time it came was about 4 or 5 years ago. I don't remember exactly when it was. And yeah, I went up. They were giving rides and stuff, and I went and flew in it with my wife and only kid at that time.
Yeah.
And it made them sick So they don't want to do it again. But so if you have a chance to go up in it, when that plane comes around, I don't remember how much it was. It doesn't matter. But there's one seat where you can pay extra to ride in the cockpit. Now, when I went up on the flight with it, I decided not to do it because I wanted to sit back with my family, which the way the seats are on that is it's a single seat on each side. So there's an aisle in the middle and then a single seat on each side. So you're not sitting next to anybody. But anyway, so you could pay extra to ride in the cockpit. I wish I would have, because the guy that did it didn't really say anything until he got out. When we were all getting off, he actually got to fly the airplane. So how cool would that have been? It was like an extra $50 is all.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
That's
that
awesome.
would have been sweet.
Yeah.
That would have been sweet.
But that's one of the reasons, by the way, that like the tri-motor has a special place in my heart, and I know Tom likes it too. But growing up, I was a Ford guy. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why that's people pick their things. I was too,
don't worry.
I know, it's like I'm justifying myself, right? But anyway, so I was a Ford guy. And so Ford and airplanes is cool because,
it's Ford.
It's Ford and airplanes. And then we actually went up to the Henry Ford Museum up in Dearborn, and they have one of these on display there too. And that actually was like within a week of when I was flying out. I think we went like up there a week beforehand. And I knew I was going to get to fly it on it the next weekend when I was here in town. So learning about it and then flying on it, it just like that has stuck out to me. And that's why we were building the model of it. Kind of to push ourselves on doing something big that we've never done before and see how much we can screw this up.
Well, Joe mentioned it in his research. It's a docile, easy to fly airplane. Yeah. And in model form, if we can build it light enough, I feel like we're going to have a real winner. I mean, because
I think so too.
If we can get it light enough, and we can make it look like as close as we can and keep the scale outline, I think it's going to really, really get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's going to sound awesome.
It's going to sound great. It's going to look awesome. We're going to, hopefully replicate the corrugation as close as we can anyway. And so, I think it's just going to be a real sweetheart.
Someday.
Well,
are those 3 motors the same size?
So, are you asking me or Joe?
I'm asking anybody who can answer.
Joe, go ahead.
I feel like yes, but I could be wrong.
So you are correct. On some versions, they had 3 identical engines, but on some of the later versions, the center engine was a different spec than the 2 out on the wing.
Okay.
More horsepower in the center.
Usually. So yes and no.
That makes sense.
Yeah. No, Joe's correct. Yeah. Some versions had 3 identical engines.
So a 4-cell running a higher pitch prop in the center, and 2 3-cells on the outside.
Yeah, there you go.
Same diameter.
I see where you're going with
Not that I'm thinking about building one or designing it.
I think you
but
should.
You're totally thinking about building one.
I think we should.
The question is, should I design it to be the same size as you guys are building?
I was just going to say that. You should do the same size we are.
Wow.
Because I've got those 2 motors that are the pancake ones that spin 15 inches, right?
If he's
those are
building with
about
foam,
the right
that's light.
size to scale, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't remember what size propellers like.
I think we the math we did worked out to where it was perfect for those YS 120s, which turns 15 to 16 inch props.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So if I did the electric version and found a good equivalent for the center pod, we might be in business quicker than.
Oh, you definitely
absolutely.
Will. You have ready access to building
not
materials.
quicker than you. I'm just thinking we may have like the motor equipment and the actual like components to be able to actually start, really putting it. Like if we start putting it together, we can start actually getting the motors in there.
That would be awesome.
That would be
there's
awesome.
a couple STL files that make really great, 9-piston radial engine,
dummies. Yeah.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dummies. And they got the motor set so that you just mount it in there and it looks amazing.
That would be cool.
So
Yeah.
printing out 3 of those it'd be worth the 4 days of printing or whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we'll end up doing too, is kind of making some dummy radials to go on it. But Yeah, you should build one too. I think that'd be fun.
That would be fun.
You'll be done before we are.
Oh, for sure.
Ooh, it's a race. I'm just kidding.
Actually, maybe that'll speed us along. I don't know.
Maybe that'll motivate
Wait,
us. I
wait,
don't
wait.
know.
What's your wingspan so I can get it 1 inch
12 feet.
bigger?
Yeah, 140. Actually, I think it ends up being just over that, like 146.
Ooh, man, 146
it's
is
huge.
a little bit tall for a foam board build.
It's huge.
Might be. Yeah, so I fly at a 40-acre field. And so this is not unreasonable for that field.
No.
No, heavens no. 40 acres would accommodate this
Yeah.
easily.
No problem.
So
Well, no faster than it flies either.
Yeah, it's a slow flying
Yeah, it's
plane.
not. Yeah, it's not going to be a.
It's going to be like a lumbersome big telemaster. I mean, that's kind of how I'm likening it. How it's going to fly.
That's how I envision it.
But it's going to sound awesome.
okay.
Awesomer than a telemaster.
Yeah, better go for like 150 inches on the low end just to be sure you make it, Matt.
Just make
Yeah,
sure you
just
make
make
it,
sure he doesn't
make it
creep
bigger than
up
us.
and bring it to
That's right.
148.
There you go.
Yep, that's
I
right.
like where you're going with that.
I'm just saying, man.
I hear you.
I like it.
Yeah. So that's the tri-motor, and that's why we
That's awesome.
are trying to build one.
That was a
and-
great history lesson, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah.
I wasn't done.
Oh,
Oh,
Hey, Joe, do you have any other?
well, let us. Yeah.
Do you have any other tidbits that we need to talk about?
Joe, what else you got, buddy?
You're good. No, we sidetracked so much.
Sorry.
No, there's one more thing only because I found it interesting, the braking system, and then I'll end the segment. It's a pull stick brake, but it goes just like back to the left, back to the right, or back to any varying degrees. And when you pull, so where we might think accustomed to brakes in the rudders, this brake was a big handle. It was like a gear shift, like your manual drive. And so it was really only good for taxing. But they utilize a dual master cylinder system at the bottom of the stick. And so as you pulled it back into one direction, it would engage one side of one master cylinder more than the other, and that's what gave you your differential braking
Oh,
on this.
I did
So
not
like
know
a
that.
rocker to the master cylinders, and depending on where the stick was, the bottom end of the stick, it would pull
Yeah,
either or.
Right, in different amounts.
Yeah, proportional too.
And
Yeah.
right, and so what was actually if say you were sitting in the left hand seat, it was really easy to brake, say back into the left because I was pulling it back and towards you.
Mhm.
But if you were having to brake and get to the right, and you were in charge, you'd hand it off to the person that was sitting beside you and say, "Hey, brake for me in this direction," because you couldn't easily pull it away from you. Braking, you'd have to hand it off to your co-pilot to brake in that direction while you continue to do other things.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I did not know that.
Tom's face lit
See?
up.
It really did. Yeah, that's fascinating.
I can see his wheels turning in his head like right now, going, "How am I going to model that in the model?"
Well, then I'm glad I went ahead and got that last
Yeah.
little tidbit in.
Me too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like in my head, I'm
guys-
trying to figure out the linkage involved to get the yoke to move in that direction. That's freaking
I
awesome.
imagine it's similar to like the flying wing mechanisms where it's a elevator. Wait, is that right?
Elevon?
Yeah, where you have both controls. So there's a general rocker, and then there's also the aileron left and right controls. So if you're pulling back on the elevator, the whole mechanism moves forward and backwards, and yet it can still go side to side. So I imagine it's something similar to that,
Yeah.
but for braking cylinders. I
Very
suppose.
cool. I dig it.
Well, there we go. So yes, that's our project coming up, and that should also be yours.
It sounds like he's really considering it. So I like
I'll
that.
have plans next week.
All right. 12 feet plus, right?
There you
Hey,
go.
by the way, if you look at my page, you'll see the 35 designs. All of them have plans that I've made.
Nice. Okay.
That's my build process. I think it up, I draw it up, I print it, and then I do the beta build, make tweaks, then I release them, or the alpha build, and then I release them as a beta.
I
I just want people to build stuff and have fun.
Well, that's part of the
That's
hobby.
really what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Flying.
I mean, you guys,
About
you mentioned, that your mission statement is to keep people flying or What was it exactly?
Let me pull up the website and I'll let you know.
No. Let's just go back to the footage I said, and we'll call it that.
It was so eloquently worded.
It was.
Helping you through the hurdles of the RC aviation hobby.
Yeah. And I feel like our mission statement it would be kind of similar. Only
we have a mission statement. Okay.
well, I mean, if we had one,
Oh,
it would be similar because we want to, we want people to get into the hobby and stay in the hobby, because if they don't, there would be no hobby.
right.
Yeah.
So
And I'm sick of everything closing down and not having tools made like we used to have and all that kind of stuff.
hey,
So.
speaking of tools, did you
Oh.
want to talk about our tool of the week?
That's right. You guys requested that we bring back Tool of the Week.
We did. Can I request you put in the sound bit?
It's time for RC Plane Labs Tool of the Week.
We tried. Like, it's very difficult.
What do you mean we tried?
Well, okay. So we came up with one, but it's very
we've got
boring.
one.
So don't get excited or anything. So here's the problem with Tool of the Week. We thought that was something we could kind of bring in and talk about a lot of these different tools that we like to use and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Apparently, we don't use a lot of different tools, come to find out.
Come to find out, yeah.
But a lot of them you can't get anymore. So we don't want to talk like, hey, these are tools we have. You can't get them. Ha, ha, ha. And we don't want it to come off that way.
yeah, we didn't want it to come off like that. So
It seems like I've looked up some of the balsa tooling just because, again, I'm looking at like, okay, what will I need? And I've noticed that you can 3D print a good portion of them. Now, I don't know if they're worth printing,
some of them are.
but I wonder how many of the tools that were from yesterday, from yesteryears,
Yeah.
have been basically, people said, okay, we still need this. Nobody wants to make it anymore because it's,
Well, the quantity's not there to make it worthwhile.
Right.
right. But we can 3D print one because if you're doing that kind of thing, boy, is that tool helpful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how many of those are out there in that method, in which case you can still talk about it and just say, hey, because it's not something everybody needs all the time anymore, because not as many people build balsa, most of them just ARF.
Fair statement.
This tool you can print out on Thingiverse.
Yeah.
It's great.
True. And that would be a good way to look into it too. But there's a lot of people that don't have 3D printers and that kind of stuff too, which is unfortunate. That brings in a whole nother hobby of what a lot of us like to make tools for another hobby. And it's, But anyway,
So today's tool.
What's the tool this week?
So it's a tool that every hobbyist has used at one point or another and probably has ready access to right now.
whether it's foam, balsa, foam and balsa,
Really?
like foam covered balsa.
What about corrugated cardstock?
There you go. Cardboard
Cardboard.
with
Not
balsa.
cardboard, but the sign material. What is that?
I know what we call it in our industry, but that's proprietary to us, so I don't want to say it. But you're talking about, I know, like the fluted type material.
That's it. Yeah.
What?
The
Spad?
plastic.
No.
Yeah, spad. The stuff that spads are
Corrugated
made
plastic.
out of.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
what you're
there's
talking about.
anyway.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yes,
gosh.
you can use this tool on that also.
XPS.
Yeah.
Give it away, Tom.
Well, it's the X-Acto knife.
That's so boring, but
It's boring, yes. But I mean,
Well,
without that one tool, man, could you imagine how difficult this hobby would be?
You could not cut hardly anything without it.
Well, I mean, what are the alternatives? Like a box knife, well, a razor blades, or
And-
straight edge razor blade. I mean,
They
You
dull
can
so
always pull out the old
Yeah.
trusty Sawzall.
or that.
Yeah.
So right. So without this tool, I can't believe we've not
Yeah, we actually have not done that before.
done that one before.
Japanese
because, I mean,
hacksaw?
it's such
low hanging
important-
fruit that we probably just
important
didn't
tool.
even think about it.
But you know what? I think it's appropriate that this episode is when that tool made its life.
I agree.
So thank you guys.
Me
Yeah.
too. I agree.
Perfection.
Well, what's a feature that makes the X-Acto knife better than the other ones?
It cuts.
Well, so for starters, I mean, you can replace the blade easily.
And
right?
cheaply.
The blades are relatively inexpensive. They're small enough to be useful for our hobby. Like they're not so large and cumbersome that they're difficult to use. I mean, the list goes on. Ron?
I mean, yeah, you can cut things with them.
I was
they
thinking
stay sharp.
they come in a form factor that is good to get to detailed work.
See, there you go.
Yeah. The number 11 X-Acto blades, I buy them 120 at a time on Amazon.
Yeah, buy them in bulk.
Yeah, and they're really cheap.
Yeah.
Have you worked with any of the other shapes?
I have. Yeah. So
Somewhat.
like the number 10 blade, the scalpel blade, and then they actually, for a long time, in fact, you might even still be able to get them from X-Acto, but they actually made a serrated saw blade that fit in the number 11 handle. It was awesome.
I've got one.
I mean, perfect little thing for making like the notches or the holes in the side of a fuselage for your switch. Perfect for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they make a lot of different blades, and I've used a majority of them.
And there's other companies also that make blades that you can get to put in for hinge cutting.
Yeah.
For slot cutting,
That's
for
right.
that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
But when I, like I said, it's the number 11 blade is what I buy in the 100 fold.
Yes.
Just because you go through them quickly. I don't know how long they last, like for cutting foam, because I don't do a lot of that. But I know, like covering an airplane, monocoat really tears them up.
2 to 4 sheets of foam board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The paper's not cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's probably the same thing
I
that we
use
go through
mine
then with
more.
monocoat. It's the same, just kind. And it's not like it would still be a good knife to use generally for other things.
Oh, sure.
But it's just not sharp enough for what we need to use it for.
Right. And the handle, like, you can get the handle in lots of different flavors. You can get aluminum ones, you can get plastic ones, and the ones I really like are the aluminum ones.
Sour Patch ones.
Exactly.
You can get
Right, the
Fruity
vanilla.
Pebbles.
Yeah, right. The serrated one, or not serrated, but the knurled ones that have for the grip. Those are my favorite.
Did we really just spend like 5 minutes talking about an X-Acto knife?
Who knew?
Heck yeah.
Who knew that they were so interesting?
Nobody still does, by the way. Nobody actually thinks they're interesting.
All 5 of our listeners have now stopped listening.
Oh,
Cumulative between the two separate podcasts. 5.
Thanks, Mom.
oh, we
Nice.
double our listenership now just because of his parents.
Yeah, I know, right? So, well, one of the things I notice is I've seen people who I'm like, hey, do you have because I'm like, hey, let's build a plane together. Do you have an X-Acto set? And they pull out this like box.
Oh, the
And I'm
wood
expecting
box,
them to just have the aluminum like stick.
Yeah.
And they just they have a blade in it, which is what we have. But they pull out this whole set. And there's like 3 different style handles, different diameters.
Yeah.
And there's a myriad of like 20 different blades with different curves.
Usually you buy them
different,
at like the dollar store, and that's where they belong.
I agree. But I was surprised when they pulled out this whole set. And I'm like, what do you even use all those for?
Yeah.
Why? What is that about?
I'm the same way. Like I have a couple of those. They're in that little, like mine are in blue plastic cases that don't ever stay shut because they're just so cheaply molded. But yeah, it's like 2 or 3 different size handles. They have the fat ones. They have the skinny ones. They're a little bit longer and stuff. And there's nothing as good, in my opinion, as just a single normal X-Acto blade on a normal X-Acto handle.
I like the large handles because I can also use those handles for my razor saw blades. They go in there and I can lock them down. I can use that handle with those blades.
Oh, I don't have that.
Yeah.
Like my
and those
razor
are
saw
also
is
good
just
for the
normal.
chisel blades. Like if you're carving out wood blocks, the fatter handle is easier on your hand.
I can see that.
Yeah. So there you go.
But you should use a razor plane instead of a chisel.
Well, not if you're hollowing out the inside of a block.
Oh, that wouldn't work with a razor plane.
No,
So yeah,
not
okay.
at all. So there you go.
All right.
Here's an idea for your next tool of the week. Do you have one of those 3-2-1 square blocks for machining?
Yeah, I use them. 1, 2, 3 blocks.
Yeah, you know what I mean. They're these kind of heavy, perfectly
Steel blocks.
square steel blocks that help keep things where they should be.
Yep. I have. I've got a pair of those.
Nice.
Actually, they're great because, they have 3 different dimensions, right? There's a long skinny side, a short skinny side, and then there's the big flat, on either side. And they're great for if you're building with balsa, you can hold your parts square right there on the building table with those as you're gluing them up. Yeah, I use them all the time.
That's what kind of I was going to ask if you use that at all.
Absolutely.
Or, like which tools are worth having when you start, and which ones like really just don't. Just you only buy it if you really desperately need it, because you can probably get away with it.
Are we talking
without
building
it.
kits then?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm if we're done with the X-Acto blade.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we've belabored it.
Yeah, we're going to
enough.
skip. We'll talk about tools quickly from here on. We're not going to talk about each one in depth.
Yeah.
No, I'm not expecting you will.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, so basically an X-Acto, a razor saw with a miter box probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some various clamps. That's really
Yeah,
all you
and
need
then,
to get
like-
going.
And then a piece of foam, like a nice flat building
a
surface.
surface to build on.
Like XPS kind of.
Yeah, like the I use extruded.
Yeah, that's what I use too. Because T-pins
Right, like
stick
a 1
into
Oh
it.
inch
yeah,
or
XPS.
half
That's right.
inch.
Expanded polystyrene. Yeah, XPS. And then I just use the push pins.
Mhm.
I don't like the T
Okay.
pins because they hurt my fingers. So I get it's a little bit more expensive, but you use them over and over again, so it doesn't matter. The ones that have little plastic heads on them that are about a ½ inch tall or so by maybe a quarter inch
Okay.
wide. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering which pins you use.
Yeah. I have T pins
you
as a
pin-
backup in case I don't have enough of the
I
red
use,
ones.
I use both because sometimes you need the skinniness of a T-pin to fit
Yeah.
in a tight spot or whatever.
Or
yeah.
twist it to kind of hold another piece down at the same
Right.
time. Yeah, I've done that
Exactly.
too. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
I
that's
didn't know that
really-
they had a different thickness depending on which direction the pin. Like it's
Well,
actually
like
a
a-
rectangular.
Like a
section.
T-pin, it'll lay flat. I mean, think of it as folding a paper clip into a T and then making one end sharp.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if as you're holding it down, like I said, if you want to kind of span a gap or something, you only get a quarter inch or so on each side, maybe a little bit less. And then you can actually kind of use that little bump to hold something else down if you needed to.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of like pinning through the part, you can use the undersurface of the T to hold the part down to
Yeah.
the plan.
Almost as a
okay.
clamp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering, do you pin through the part and just say stick? Darn it, like it's a bug.
It depends.
It
I mean,
depends,
yeah.
yeah.
Or do you stick? Or do you basically kind of align it with the pin and
Sometimes.
use the pin is stuck in there
Yep.
to keep the alignment?
You'll
Yep.
find whatever works best for you is how you'll do it. Like I said, there are sometimes I go through the part and sometimes I don't.
Yeah. Really, really small or thin balsa parts, I generally don't pin through them.
Yeah.
I'll pin next to it and use the head of the pin to hold the part.
So you don't
Worry about
split it.
So you don't
the
split it.
balsa.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thin, thick, or medium CA
Thin and
or
medium, that's all
aliphatic
you need.
resin.
Thin
Yeah, if-
CA and medium CA. That's really all you need. Or if you're really patient and old school, aliphatic resin.
Yeah, that's what he said. I don't know if you heard him or not.
Oh, no, I was talking. I'm sorry. I probably talked right over him.
that was the last thing he said.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that.
I just went ahead. I wanted to try my hand at saying that word because it's like saying elephant,
Yeah, kind
like
of.
like a hobbit.
Yeah.
Well, just
It's such a fun
wood
word.
glue.
It is.
That's the easiest. Yellow
Yeah.
glue,
Oh, okay.
whatever.
And epoxy, if you didn't say that already.
Yeah. Epoxy.
I didn't, but I
5 and 30 probably.
I'd say so.
Yeah, 5 minute and 30 minutes is what we use. So like if you're
For my screws, do I want to use Loctite, the blue bottle, or the red bottle?
I hope you're joking. Joe, I hope you're joking. Because I'm about to
Or
go
was
off.
it the fluid?
is there a history here that I'm missing?
No, I just hate red Loctite with like a passion.
well, I hate the fact that the blue Loctite comes in a red bottle.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah, this-
confusing.
Yeah.
I agree.
But does the blue one come with the red container, or wait, no, it's
No, they're
the
both
blue
in the
liquid
red
is in the
Yeah,
red
they're both in
container.
red container.
Yeah. The red
Okay.
Loctite
Oh, are
is
they?
permanent. And
Yeah.
like when I say permanent, I mean like frustratingly permanent. Like
Not coming
get
off.
out the Dremel with the cutoff wheel permanent.
Mm.
The blue Loctite is better.
Yeah.
And if you use it in moderation, it does what it says it'll do. But I'm not a huge fan of Loctite, period. So
Yeah. When I need it, I use blue. I've never used red. I don't even own red.
Yeah,
I knew that was a touchy subject. That's why I asked.
It worked.
Yeah, I only have the blue liquid one.
Yeah.
Because if I had both, I'd mess it up and
Use the wrong
it'd be a
stuff.
broken
Yeah.
plane.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to take a quick trip back to the super glue and talking about the thin, thick, and all that stuff. So if you're putting something together and you don't mind waiting for the glue to dry, wood glue or your aliphatic resin, the nice thing about that is it sands much easier.
Oh man. Yes.
So
it does.
Okay.
if you're patient,
Mhm.
which sometimes I'm not, depending on like where you're building and if it's a joint that you're kind of concerned about,
Yeah.
that you're going to actually see through, like when you cover it, wood glue works a lot better because you can sand it down a lot easier.
Yeah.
I think I heard you say in a previous episode, one of y'all's episodes, that the CA gets into the balsa and they kick it or you give it time to cure, but it hardens harder than the balsa.
Absolutely
does,
true.
yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
So when you sand it, like if you're joining sheets together, that joint where the two sheets are joined together, that the glue that's in there will be harder than the surrounding balsa. So that when you go to sand it and try to sand it smooth, you'll be sanding the balsa away, but the glue, you'll have
Will
a
not go
hump
anywhere.
there
Yeah.
where the glue is.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
So
you're
that's
almost
why-
making corrugated sheets.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. Oh, there's an idea.
No, it's not an idea.
No,
It's
okay.
terrible.
Hey.
Terrible idea.
Anyway.
But anyway, yeah, that's
thought it
why
was pretty good.
the little how-to I did. That's why I join sheets edge grain together with aliphatic resin because it does sand much
Sand.
better than the CA.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Do you tend to make, when you make logos for it, like let's say you cover your stuff in like Monocoat or whatever the Technicoat or Technicolor Dreamcoat or whatever the stuff is called.
China coat.
China
You-
coat's
you-
what
you
I
covered-
like. I mean, that's
China
not the
coat,
actual
right.
name, but that's so much
No.
cheaper and easier to use. Anyway, go on. Sorry. I
Right.
didn't
But
mean to-
either way, shrink. I've used Dollar Tree cellophane and spray 77 the
Mhm.
back of it.
Yeah.
And done that. It seems to work.
Any plastic
close.
shrinks when it gets hot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It is. So just the window is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Anyway, so looking at that kind of stuff, when you're making decals for that stuff, how do you tend to do that? Do you like put it on a mirror and like finely cut it, or do you get like a vinyl sticker cutter thing, like, and just get it that way, or
Well,
if you get a
how
decal
can
slide.
you do that, or how do we do that? Because
how do you tend to do it? Because one of the things
Well-
I love to do is to get a little bit of like pizzazz on the
yeah,
wing.
absolutely. So I'm big into tools, so I have a vinyl cutter.
Okay.
A lot of people don't. So yeah, you can absolutely cut it on a piece of glass or a mirror or something with an X-Acto knife. I don't do that because that's a lot of work. I mean, honestly,
I do that because I don't have a vinyl cutter. So just recently, I had to put some iron crosses on a stick that I was recovering, and Ron printed them out on his large format printer, brought them to me, and then I used those as templates, and then I taped the template to the back of the monocoat and trimmed it out with a knife right on top of my sacrificial mat. What are they called? You know what I'm talking
yeah,
about?
like
The cutting
the
mat.
Cutting
X-Acto
mat,
cutting
thank you.
mats. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
So that's how I did it because I don't own a vinyl cutter. And it was going on a nitro airplane, and nitro and vinyl don't get along.
Yeah, you got to watch what you get for that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But you don't
I've
have to
heard
worry
that
about
too.
nitro.
Yeah, but if you're
not
doing electric,
nitro.
yeah, vinyl
Yeah.
is fine
Vinyl's perfect.
and much, much quicker and easier.
Mhm.
Well, I know for Matthew and I, 2.25 hours in, we're just hitting our good stride. But
Well, until next time, I'm Ron.
Yeah, and I'm tired. So
we're just going to cut it there. Okay. Well, real quick, I wanted to say, yeah, and maybe I'll do this for both of us, however you want to do it, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening.
Yep.
This episode has been, I won't say a long time in the making, but it has been a long time dreamed of, especially between Ron and I.
Yeah.
Going way, way back. So
Yeah, I think you brought it
glad,
up like a
guys.
year and a half ago. I mean, it was when we were just first getting started.
Yeah, it's both of us were still pretty new to I think I brought it up. Like, this might be an interesting, but I was hesitant to bring it up. So,
before we get too far, Ron, I know that you have electric motors.
Mm-hmm.
Probably too many. I mean, that's not really true. You can't possibly have them.
Never, but yeah.
Is it possible that you could set one aside and build like a boxy plane, maybe something with a foamy that's not a profiler with us?
Oh God,
would you be up for trying it and just seeing how it's different? And it may not be better, and you may never touch it again.
You are putting me on the spot to say yes.
I'm putting you on the spot to see if you'd be interested in making that a thing that we do in the future together.
You know what? I will not say no to that. I will.
Just as I took your challenge with the tri-motor inadvertently.
You volunteered for that one, by the way. No. So honestly, the thought of building with foam like that is not anything that ever.
It doesn't get you excited.
But
what plane do you get excited about?
Well, the problem with that is the plane that I would like to build like that is completely round.
And?
Well, that's way too much for me to get into foam with a round fuselage. But anyway, no, I'm a huge fan of Yak 54s. But now, having said that, there is an airplane that has gone between several of us here that is a foamy Yak. It's a square fuselage, but that flies really well. But it's just not. I mean, like, I don't know how to. I will try. There we go. How's that? Yes, I will try. We will build one together. However, you can pick the plan.
Well, I've never built a Yak.
Well, no,
and I'm no good at 3D flying, so I'm all about trying that with you and watching mine burning and crash into the ground in a fun, hilarious way.
Well, here's the thing. You pick the airplane. You send me the plans. I can print them here. I can do all that stuff. No problem. I've got all the electronics I would need.
Yeah.
And we will.
I want to pick a plane you'd be interested in trying out as a foamy. That's all.
Okay. We can.
That is half the battle, right? Like getting something you're going, oh, that's pretty interesting. Let me see how that goes.
Well, then, anyway, sure.
It sounds like a Yak might be the answer.
All right, I'll find something for you. We'll talk.
We'll talk later. We'll figure it out. That might be kind of interesting to kind of come to your side of the hobby, and then one of these days you come to the dark side and build balsa.
The dark side is coming, that's for sure. Good.
All right.
Cool. Okay, so Joe, are you going to take us out? I'm sorry.
I was at least going to start it and then see if Ron wanted to finish it. But I wanted to follow up and say, guys, thank you for coming on with us, letting us come on with you. It's been a good time.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that my stuff's been having connection issues, but it's been a wonderful conversation.
From what you've heard of it, it has, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been able to hear it. Don't worry.
It's been
fun. But I also want to thank listeners, ours and yours, who've tuned in. Hopefully they've enjoyed this conversation as much as we've obviously enjoyed having it. And I think I'm going to forego the rest of my normal outro. But Ron, Tom, y'all got a bit of an outro you want?
AviationRCNoob.com, RCPlaneLab.com. Good night.
Sounds good. I'm Joe.
I'm Ron.
I'm Matt.
I'm Tom.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Y'all.